Hello, Lund loyalists. John Lund unleashed YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on your alerts so you never miss a show. And for all things Unleashed, go to johnlundunleashed.com. Live shows, archives, the blog, social media, links, and more. Now likely nursing a hangover. Unshaven, unshowered, and a 50-50 chance of his teeth being brushed. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Yes, I have the, you know what the hair is doing today. It's not good. I'm not having a bad hair life anyway, but I'm having a really bad hair day when when I got the complete cover going on. Welcome to episode 71. It is absolutely outstanding to have you here. I'm in a tremendous mood on this Wednesday because every single day, and I tell you this almost every day, I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And we have stuff from the night before, and lots of things are happening in the sports world right now. And you know that between Combine, what the Warriors are doing to buzz everybody. The beginning of spring training before everybody gets bored with it. Lots of national stories like Luka and what Nike did and Jordan Brand did, which was phenomenal. Somebody's going to get a raise for what they did, and that song is stuck in my head if you don't know what I'm talking about. All my exes live in Texas. Not a country music fan, but that was really good. I got this thing is really funny, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story through.
Hello, Lund loyalists.
I'm going to tell you this story
YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify. Please make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, get out of here. Second day in a row that's happened. Let's go, Lund. Be a professional, will you please? But I'm going to explain to the way that an NFL team manipulates and uses an NFL reporter to get their message through. That is why I have Jimmy Garoppolo on the cover today, because the Rams are trying to make us believe that, yeah, we're fine with Jimmy being our starting quarterback. You are not. It's the worst bluff I've ever seen in my life. You see Kirk Cousins on there because he's going to be set free by Atlanta, and that's going to start a frenzy on a slow day that the 49ers are going to somehow use Kirk Cousins as leverage. They're not. There's a Jimmy Butler right there. There's Luka in the corner against Clay. Luka almost had a triple-double in the first half, and I'm going to show you a pass today. It's the very reason why you don't trade Luka, and I don't care if it's for Anthony Davis. It's the whole reason the Mavs are wrong, and you can see Nico Harrison just staring at Luka the whole time. There's something behind this. You know, all these documentaries come out. There's going to be a doc on Luka when his great career is over, and there's a weird reason why there was a trade here. There's something else here. And it's the Mavs are leaking weird stuff out. It's crazy. And then there's Bryce Eldridge in the left-hand corner, my left, your right. And you got it. This clip I have from Marty Lurie, and maybe we got to get Marty on because Marty was in the stands yesterday for Giants A's, and he's doing this play-by-play of Bryce Eldridge, who struck out twice. And it goes back to what I'm telling you about spring training. Hey, he hits a home run one day. Oh my God, he's amazing. And then he strikes out twice on fishing on pitches. Because, like I said, they're not game planning against him, but if Bryce Eldridge is going to chase balls down in the dirt, they're going to throw another ball down in the dirt. And so there's just the adjustment period has already begun and that kind of stuff. So we got a lot of things to talk about today. It is episode 71. Let me first say this. We will do roll call in just a second on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed, if you're watching on many different platforms. So we're on Facebook now, and you can join, by the way. I got all these platforms, but still you can join John Lund Unleashed on Facebook. You can join that. We're on a couple of YouTube channels, not only my own, John Lund Unleashed, which you should join, subscribe, and get your alerts on. Also hit the like button on that, but I'll tell you probably next week about another YouTube channel I'm on and why. We're on Twitch as well. We're on X. We're on Instagram at John Lund Radio. If you're watching on any of those forums, thank you very much. Come on over to the chat room on John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, and you can hang out in the chat, and you'll never miss a show. Hit the alert. So make sure you tell all your friends and enemies to make sure that they watch the show. So I really appreciate that. JohnLundUnleashed.com. You can check out JohnLundUnleashed.com. Got a new piece up there today about the QB carousel, Matt Stafford, and how it could help the 49ers. I would hope that you would take a look at it. And again, to just share my screen on this morning to show you what I've got up there. A lot of box scores, things like that. Let me Let me see. Did add new post. I already did that. I think this is the right one. Well, at least this will get you there. There is my website, John Lund Unleashed. You can check that out. It's got everything. It's got the new show actually up right now. There's where you get your podcast. You can click on that for more podcasts. You can click on this for more blog posts. Merch, you can check that out as well. If you click on that green button, you can go to the merch store. But right there, the story about, let me see if I can click on that, baby. There you go. NFL offseason QB Carousel on how it could be good for the 49ers. Check that out, and you can see that. So there's a short video, maybe 3 minutes, won't hurt you. And then you can check out all the stuff that I wrote about why Matthew Stafford could be headed to the Raiders and why that's good news for the rest of the NFC West, and specifically why it's good news for the 49ers. So check that out. Wrote that last night, johnlundunleashed.com. What else do we have? I guess that's it as far as things go. As far as the chalkboard is concerned, if you're new around here, we try to stick to the chalkboard, but I go to random things all the time because I go over to the chat room, sends me on a sideways tangent, and that's always a lot of fun. We enjoy it. So episode 71, QB carousels, I just told you, we'll talk about that. No, Kirk Cousins is not on the way. Read all about it. That has to do with what I just showed you right there. Brandon Aiyuk is staying. It's so silly how these NFL insiders are being used, and I'll discuss that as part of this whole thing, what to believe, what to not, and it'll make things easier on you. John Lynch, general manager of the 49ers, is in Indianapolis. Kyle Shanahan, for some strange reason, is not. But you know my feelings on that. So John Lynch starts talking at 11 o'clock. So here's what I'm going to do today. We'll go our normal time, whatever, 10, 10:30, whatever, Pacific, whatever, and however long. We're not going to just put a number on it, because if I'm just rambling for no apparent reason, then you're going to be bored and think the show sucks. So we do the show as long as we need to and as long as it's great. And then when John Lynch talks at 11 o'clock, I'm certainly going to be front and center, taking copious notes, and I'll let you know tomorrow or later on today. I may even put up a piece and we will discuss. In fact, I'll probably write a piece about what John Lynch says later on. So make sure you check it out, johnlundunleashed.com, and the video on the YouTube channel. I'm going to be on Krug Show afterwards, the Krug Show. So I would imagine the Krug Show around maybe noon Pacific time. So make sure that you head on over to the Krug Show at about noon. So I got a long day ahead of me. And then I hate this mock pick. I don't know if I hate this mock pick. Maybe it was yesterday's mock pick, because Bucky Brooks came out with a mock. And you know how I am with mocks. I told you this yesterday. Must click on mock. And so I like this mock pick, actually. So I don't know. Maybe I was high when I wrote that part of the show. Probably not. The Rams used Diana Rossini. I love Diana Rossini. She's so really good. But I'm just going to explain to you how things are going on right now so it doesn't make your head spin constantly of how this whole thing works with insiders and teams. But they're spinning around like a top. But then, free agency's coming and the draft is coming. And so she needs these people in front offices. And the trade-off is, here, put this dumb stuff out. And some things I would just say no. Like when they say the Rams say we're happy with Jimmy Garoppolo, and she reports that. No, they're not. They're not. Like you don't have to play the game every single time. Like some things you just got to go listen, Les Snead. That's ridiculous. I'm not reporting that. Like, I'm going to help you and you're going to help me back. That's how this whole thing works. It's how rumors start. It's how things get out. It's agents, it's teams. It's what they want to get out. It's what they want to drive so that the leverage can be in their favor. It's always lying season in sports. I tell you that. It just used to be around drafts and free agency. It's lying season 24/7, 365. And they use these insiders, and then the insiders get stuff back and they scratch each other's back. And that's how it works. But right now it's getting ridiculous. So I'm going to explain that and play some videos to back that up. Charlotte, Golden State. We'll get into the. By the way, I'm not saying the Warriors aren't much better with Jimmy Butler, because they are. But Golden State is in it. Lord Almighty, Lund. Charlotte is in a stretch where they're just terrible. Luka versus Dallas. I got to play that. I may have to play that Jordan spot before we get to that. It's just so good. Somebody in marketing is going to get paid a boatload just for that. Like, that must be some VP way high up. Random stuff happens throughout the show. And corpse update. Remember at the end of the show when we did the corpse, where the old couple who was on a 15-hour flight, they're going on a vacation, and they had to sit next to a dead corpse on an airline? They spoke, and I feel really bad for them, man. The woman's got like PTSD. I don't think she'd ever fly again. Maybe it's just a great act, because she's going to get a lot, either money or she's going to get like lifetime or whatever. The people that the plane went upside down, I think it was going from Toronto to Minneapolis. The plane, everybody was fine, but the plane ended up upside down. We played it for you last week. A video of it was really scary. Those people got $30,000 a piece, which wouldn't be near enough. There's no way. And they're like, oh, this doesn't, you can still, there's still legal action you can take, but here's $30,000 just so you know. I mean, I'm going, look, we're going 6 figures. Like my plane goes upside down, I need $100,000. And then I'll think about not suing you. But if you're giving me 30 grand willingly, then imagine what I could get. So, and I'm not one of those type of people, but if my plane goes upside down, if there's a dead body next to me, like, come on, man, you better pony up. So anyway, there's the end of that. Am I a litigious person? Maybe I am. All right, let's get into all these things and let's say hello to everybody. This is what we do if you're new around here, and we'd love for you to join the chat room on the YouTube channel, John Lund Unleashed, and say good morning and say hello. If you're new, please make sure you say hello to us so that we can acknowledge you in the room. Tacky is here. Pine Needle, great to see you. AJ Cruz 75 says, okay, pants off. I don't know the content or the what that is all about. That's why there's a random part of the show, because if I start digging on that, I could have some trouble. Enrique, it's great to see you. Gizmo, my friend. Danny, Thursday night, Danny, I think is when it's going to happen. So let's make it happen. And I got to get you some gear too. Jazz fan is here. Kyle, good to see you, my friend. Christopher, good morning. Skills, hope everything is good. Skills, I saw that picture, by the way, of you and your wife and your yet to be unborn Josie, and I think you were on the Golden Gate Bridge. Killer picture, man. That was very cool. Vernon is here today. The big, oh, look at that, man. Bree Surf is here today. Good morning to you. J49, hello. I did say Kyle, I believe. Todd, our good friend, is here today. So great to see everybody. Hello, Scott. Good morning, good morning, good morning to everybody. Joy is here this morning. Great to see it, and a great roll call. Good morning, good morning, good morning to all. And again, if you are new in the room today, we'd love to see if you're listening on X and Instagram or Facebook or any of those places, come on over to YouTube and subscribe and tell all your friends about it. Hi, Nate. Good morning to you as well. Chris is here. All right, let's get to it. Episode 71. So QB Carousel, and I gave you a little bit of, I'm going to kind of tie QB Carousel, No Cousins, read all about it, and this Diana Rossini thing, probably all together. So I'm going to make this just one kind of big jambalaya that we throw together. So first and foremost, the Matthew Stafford thing, which I wrote at johnlundunleashed.com, and there's a video to tease your senses a little bit, tickle the senses. So I'll make sure that we do that, because it's just a lot easier if I just say, hey, check it out. And then you can just look at everything. But if you go to the website and you check that out, I give you the reason. So that video is only about 3 minutes long. You can watch it after the show. You could subscribe right there. Click on that if you'd like to. But the premise of this whole thought is I give you the reason why I think if the Rams, if the Rams are serious about moving Matthew Stafford, and I understand why they would be, but I also understand why they wouldn't be. And I'll explain how weird that is. But right. You can see right there from the Las Vegas side of things, this is why it would work. And from the Rams, why they would do it. So you can see that. And that is the QB Carousel talk. And I'm going to talk about QB carousels in general and how this whole thing could happen in this offseason. But let's just start here. This is why. And the reason it matters is because this affects the 49ers greatly. The Rams have a talented young roster. Philly is the best roster in the NFC. Detroit is number 2. And then beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The Rams could be there. The Niners could make some moves to get back into that next tier. Green Bay is certainly there. There's some good teams. Washington is on the upswing. There's no question about it. But if the 49ers, the last place schedule and the things I think they're going to do in the offseason can get things together, I think that they can be in that next tier behind Philadelphia and Detroit, be fighting for those teams. But the Rams are certainly there. We've seen it. Great drafts over the last number of years. Defensive line is really good. Offensive line, they do have some free agent issues going on, especially along the offensive line, but they should be able to get things done. But here's where things sit, according to reports. The Rams are saying, okay, and this comes down to something I tell you all the time. Look at a guy's contract, and when he's a good player, when he starts running out of money, especially the older guys, and I mean guaranteed money, they're going to start kicking up dirt. That's what Trent Williams did last year. He had no more guaranteed money, and he's like, and the Niners like, dude, we're not cutting you. You're going to get your money. He's like, well, I want guaranteed money. And so he held out until he got guaranteed money. Matthew Stafford has a little guaranteed money left on his deal. He wants a new deal. He's 37. Just turned 37 the other day, by the way. Myles Garrett's only 30, but he's got 2 more years left on his deal. He has no more guaranteed money. So Myles Garrett wants out of Cleveland, as he's saying, to win, but he also wants to go somewhere and get a contract extension at the same time. As I tell you, 100% of the time, it's about money. Not 90, not 95, not 98, not 99, 100%. So Matthew Stafford lost for a long time in Detroit. We know that, got beat up. And then he goes to the Rams and he wins his Super Bowl ring. He's going to the Hall of Fame, whether you believe it or not. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. So now he's looking at his situation and saying, okay, I got paid. I won. I want to get paid again. And I'm 37 and this is the last time. Now he's got oodles of money. He's got piles on money, but that's not the point. They want more money. They want more guaranteed money. And in Matthew Stafford's case, and I say this in the piece, you can debate me on this all you want. And I don't care, as you know, about lists and Mount Rushmores and things like that. You can have your own list. You can have your own number one quarterback of all time. Doesn't matter to me. I think that's great. You do you. But in some order, the three great quarterbacks in the league right now are Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Put them in whatever order you want. And there's some other great ones. But in Stafford's case, he can make the case on any given Sunday that he's the fourth best quarterback, anywhere from maybe like the fourth or eighth best quarterback, in that range. He's really, really good. He is not reliant on his wheels or athleticism. He never really has been. He's got an incredible arm. That thing's not going anywhere. And he's just a gamer. He's just one of those guys that has the it. They almost beat Philly in the snow, and they're the Rams coming from a dome stadium, and Stafford almost pulled that thing off. That's how good the guy is. Now, the roster's good too for the Rams, but Stafford's that good. So as I'm looking at this whole situation, and this is the part that's interesting, if the Rams are serious and they're not just using this as a leverage ploy back and forth, and this is where Diana Rossini comes in, and I'll get to that in just a second, of how these reporters and insiders can be manipulated because they know that with free agency and the draft coming up, they need these teams. And so the teams are saying, okay, well, this is what we want from you. This is a trade-off. Nothing's free in life. And so even if you have to put out some jackassery things that are unbelievable, that's just what you're going to have to do to get the information about draft and all these different things and free agency and what we might be doing and what other teams may be doing. So that's the trade-off. She must have a good relationship with the Rams because she's really she doesn't look great through this whole thing. But the trade-off is she's going to get a lot of information from the Rams, and not just the Rams, all around the league. And so that she believes that this is a good trade-off. But anyway, let's stay on track here. So to me, as I look at this situation with Stafford, if they want to move Stafford, now, on the surface, it looks stupid because here's this young team that almost knocked off Philadelphia. Stafford's the only old guy. They redid their offensive line. The defensive line, not only is there talent, but there's depth, and they're really good from guys like Verse, who's the rookie of the year, and Fisk and Young and all these guys. They just nailed it. Boom, 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 boom. This is a good, young, talented team. So why would you want to trade Stafford? Well, they're going to have some financial issues. There's a couple of free agents, especially along the offensive line. And maybe they believe that this is just the time to make a move because it's rare. And this is Minnesota. There's a lot of dominoes here. Maybe Minnesota has not said anything about, everyone's assuming because Sam Darnold at the end of the year had a couple of tough games and they got knocked out after a really great regular season. And Sam Darnold was a top 5 MVP guy, had a great year, but it's only been 1 year. But Sam Darnold's from Southern California. He went to USC. He did play for Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for Sean McVay. So they run the exact same offense. McVay knows Darnold. Darnold ran them Niners offense. So it's all intertwined in the Kyle Shanahan system. He was very good in it last year. It helps you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and those kind of guys. I get it. But Sean McVay's thinking to himself, okay, Stafford's 37 and he's great, but he wants $60 million. We want to pay $40 million. That's a pretty big gap. You could just say 50, but ultimately maybe that's what they do. And this is all a big bluff. That's very possible. But if it's not a bluff, it makes a lot of sense because you look at Pete Carroll at 73. Here's the Raiders' perspective. Pete Carroll's 73. You think Pete Carroll wants to develop a young quarterback? He'll be playing dominoes in an old folks' home by the time that quarterback is ready to really be good. I don't want to be in the Shadur Sanders business. Cam Ward could be a nice player, but you play in the AFC West. Denver, the Chargers, and the Chiefs were all in the playoffs last year. You got to do something. Pete Carroll's not going to wait 10 years. Pete Carroll's got about a 3-year window here. And then he's going to be gone, and they're going to groom somebody else. He's 73, so they're going to give Pete Carroll a few years. The Raiders want Pete Carroll to do one thing. It's not to win a Super Bowl, which would be nice. I know that's weird to say. They want him to change culture, which Pete Carroll can do. Then they'll bring in a younger guy, maybe somebody that's going to be on his staff, and then they'll go to the next level from that. But right now, when you're the place where the Raiders are, you got to change culture. Well, who can change culture? A guy like Matthew Stafford, who played in Detroit with really bad teams and then moved to the Rams. He's seen as a winner now. And the Raiders are desperate. They don't have a quarterback. So the Raiders, not only would the Raiders love to have him, and I was looking at draft picks, they have the 37th overall pick. They're not giving up the 6th pick in the draft for Matthew Stafford, but the 37th pick, which would then give the Rams 4 picks in the top 100. They've got, I think it's 23. That would give them, or 26. I think I have 26, and that would give them 37 plus 98, 100. So they'd have 4 top picks in the top 100. And the way they draft, that's scary. Then they turn around. Sam Darnold is free, I'm assuming, because I think the Vikings are ultimately going to go with J.J. McCarthy, who they took 9th last year. He sat the bench. He got hurt. I think that they're going to do that. Now, maybe they could franchise Darnold and then trade him so they get something from a team like the Raiders. But I still think the Raiders would do something, or excuse me, the Rams. So the Rams would get an extra second-round pick. Darnold's probably worth, I don't know, a third. So they still come out and they win on that situation. So Darnold goes home to the Rams. He's played in this system. And why would Stafford want to do it? You're asking yourself, Lund, why would Stafford want to do it? Stafford would want to do it because I told you everything's about money, and he's 37. He wants to get paid again. He could get 2, and maybe he could finagle 2 and 100 out of the Rams. He could get an extra year from the Raiders, who are desperate. He could get more money from the Raiders. He wants the $60 million. The Raiders will pay the $60 million, and they'll give him 3 years. No guarantee the whole damn thing. That's how desperate the Raiders are. And oh, by the way, Nevada, as we know, is a state that has no state income tax. So he gets he's in LA right now from California. He gets a 13% raise on that money that he's going to get. Yes, please. It makes a ton of sense. Pete's 73. Raiders want to win in a tough division. Not going to wait around. Got to get some credibility. Matthew Stafford wants to get paid. That makes sense. If Sam Darnold is free, the Rams get him for free. If the Vikings franchise him so they can trade him, and then they want to start J.J. McCarthy, and then they'll save a bunch of money, then fine. Sam Darnold goes to the Rams. They give up maybe a third-round pick. They still gain something out of that. And now, here's another reason why the Rams may want to do it if they're not bluffing. Darnold's 27. Look at the young team that the Rams have. Puka Nacua is young, the offensive line, the young defense, really, really young defense. And so now the Rams think to themselves, okay, we'd be in a Super Bowl window with Matthew Stafford for 1 or 2 years, and then he retires, and now we need a quarterback. Why not just do it now when a guy like Darnold, who's played in this offense and is from Southern California and is cheaper and is younger and is going to grow with this team, now we have maybe a 6 or an 8 or a 10-year window. Now, I don't think Darnold is all that, but he played great last year, and Sean McVay's got a massive ego, so he's going to want to do that. Speaking of massive ego, some people have hit me up and said, well, what about Aaron Rodgers? I've told you this with Kyle Shanahan. The two egos of Kyle Shanahan and Aaron Rodgers would not coexist in one room. No room is big enough. I don't care. The Grand Canyon's not big enough. There's no way. Kyle wants his offense run a certain way. Those type of quarterbacks, the Brock Purdy's of the world, one of the reasons they had problems with Jimmy Garoppolo is because Jimmy's like, well, let's do it this way. And Kyle's like, shut up. We're doing it my way. Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, Kyle, I don't think so. And Kyle's like, no. That ain't going to work. So is it going to happen? It would seem to me that makes a heck of a lot of logical sense. I know the Giants could be in on Stafford, but this whole thing, the premise of this whole thing is based on, is this a bluff from the Rams? Are the Rams really going to say, the guy who just won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, this is the time? And everything is about timing. And if Darnold's not if Darnold's not attainable, which I think for the Rams he is, then the Rams probably don't do this because there's not a better option. And you and I talk about this all the time. You can change quarterbacks if you want, but where's your better option? And for the Rams, there might be a better option. There's a younger option. Now, how do the 49ers fit in that? Glad you asked. The 49ers fit in it in that maybe long-term because they get a pick and all these things and they get younger. Maybe long-term, Darnold is not a better thing for the 49ers, but in the window they're in right now, which you and I always talk about, are the Niners in a Super Bowl window? Doesn't matter what you and I think. They think they are. So short-term, Darnold's the Rams quarterback and Stafford's out of the division. That's a win for the NFC West. Stafford's a gamer. I don't care if he's 37. He's really, really good. He's a top 5 quarterback in my book. He's not with the top 3 as I talked about, but he's really, really, really good. He's a Hall of Famer. And Sam Darnold had one good year. So I don't dislike Sam Darnold. I would see why the Rams would do it. They'd save a ton of money. Sam Darnold would take the deal that Matthew Stafford's turning down in a heartbeat. 40 a year? Yes, please. And then Stafford goes makes 55 of the Raiders. Rides off into the sunset. Helps Pete Carroll, who's old. He's not going to wait for a young quarterback to develop. So that's my theory. Maybe I'm wrong. You can read about it. And I think it helps the 49ers in the short term. So that's the QB carousel part of the chalkboard today. No Cousins. Kirk Cousins, according to reports, is going to be whatever it's going to be called, released, cut, whatever the term you want to use, by the Falcons, which I know because we're always ahead of the game here. Like, there's stories out right now that we've been talking about for weeks, but this one's going to come up. because everyone's paying attention to 50 different things right now, and quietly for a weird reason, Kirk Cousins was like the center of the universe for so long. And he didn't look good last year. The Achilles, he's older. Michael Penix, they took 7th overall. It turns out Atlanta knew what they were doing, even though they signed Cousins to a big deal. It was kind of a fake big deal. So it looks like the Falcons are going to release, at least according to reports, Kirk Cousins. So what is that going to do? Well, it's going to throw the local media into a frenzy because they think that that's going to be used for leverage against Brock Purdy. Mark my words. The pieces haven't come out yet. And John Lynch is going to be asked about it, I'm sure, and Brock Purdy. And after all the draft stuff, the Purdy stuff. So at 11 o'clock when he speaks, and then I'll jump on with Larry Krueger at about 11:30. We'll talk all about that. But being ahead of the game, as we often are in this show, believe me, the Cousins pieces are coming. Is it going to be leverage for the 49ers? Is it going to be leverage against Brock Purdy? That's not happening. I know that Kyle Shanahan loves, or did Kirk Cousins, and that was the plan before they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo was, well, the reason that they didn't look at quarterbacks in the 17 draft, which was Patrick Mahomes, and they had the second, then they traded, they had the 3rd pick in the draft. Mahomes went 10th that year. They didn't do their quarterback due diligence, which nobody talks about, by the way. But it's one of the worst things probably the worst thing, actually. It's worse than Trey Lance. It's the worst thing that this regime did is they didn't look at the 17 quarterbacks because they had Jimmy Garoppolo locked in. But the whole thing about it is everybody just thought, and the assumption was right, because this is what Kyle Shanahan wanted to do when he had all the, the Blake Gabberts and all the Blaine Gabberts, I should say, all those kind of guys playing for the team when they were terrible, was we'll just wait for Kirk Cousins. And then Jimmy G came around and that got scrapped. And now everybody still wants to look at Kirk Cousins and say, well, Kyle loves him. Kyle loved him. Like when we talk about personal relationships, and oftentimes, and it's not a perfect comparison because nothing to sports is, but there's a time in your life where you wanted to get with someone, and the timing never worked out. And then at some point, it's just too late. That's where it is with Kirk Cousins and the Niners. Just too late. He's not going to be a backup in this league because there are too many opportunities for teams. Like Pittsburgh has an opportunity. There's a number of teams that still need quarterbacks. Will draft quarterbacks. Quarterbacks will get hurt, whatever the case. Kirk Cousins is going to land somewhere where he's going to get an opportunity to play a lot. It's just not going to be here. So when you hear those stories, see those stories, read those stories, insiders, reporters, Kirk Cousins, that's the 49ers leaking something to somebody when the negotiations go bad or at a standstill with Brock Purdy and his side, that somebody within the Niners organization, which is a tight-lipped organization, and if something leaks, it's because they wanted it to leak. And I'm going to go to insiders in just a second, so I'm just kind of giving you a little preface on that. They only do it if they want it to leak. So what's going to leak possibly is if they're at a standstill, somebody in the Niners organization is going to whisper to some insider, hey, man, we could go after Kirk Cousins. And then Adam Schefter is going to report that the 49ers could go after Kirk Cousins if the negotiations with Brock Purdy continue to be a standstill. That's not going to happen. And some of these things you just got to look through, and like the Jimmy thing yesterday, and it'll lead me to Diana Rossini. And I'm going to play a video for you in just a second, but it's just ridiculous. I mean, to think that we would buy that. You think that Stafford side buys that? They're comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo as their signal caller. Please. If by comfortable you mean that you're wearing a meat suit and a piranha tank, then yeah, they're very, very comfortable with Jimmy G as their starting quarterback. He was terrible at the end with the 49ers. He was terrible in his one season with the Raiders. He's not a good quarterback. He's never been a great quarterback. He's okay. He's a placeholder. The Niners took Trey Lance, a wild swing at Trey Lance because they were sick of Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be the quarterback, the number QB1 for the Rams. It's not happening. And they tried to bluff that. So let me go from Cousins to how this whole thing works. Let me play something for you. This is Diana Rossini does a great job, and I'm not here to say she's not. She's not a great insider, doesn't know a lot. I know she's good friends with Mike Silver. We had her on the show at KNBR. She's amazing. But how this whole thing works is whether it's Schefter, maybe whether it's Diana Rossini, Jordan Schultz, who are other insiders, all these, there's a bunch of really good ones. And I'm not talking about the local guys, okay? And they have to play a version of this themselves, unfortunately. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's business. Everybody who's in business knows this. You just don't do everything on your own unless you're in like a rock band or something and you're highly successful or whatever it is you do. You can't really flip your finger at the man all the time. There's a game to be played within the game. And part of the game is with these insiders, I'll give you information. You give me, you help me out when I need to be helped out. So this is something that happens in a relationship with agents and an insider, with teams and an insider, and certain insiders have better relationships with certain teams. Certain guys like Mike Florio has a terrible relationship with the Niners, and he continues to throw crap out. He did for so long with Brady that was inaccurate. So there's certain guys who you can tell don't have a good relationship. There's certain people who you can tell have a really good relationship. And I think she has a really good relationship with someone. Maybe it's Les Snead or maybe it's Sean McVay or whatever within the Rams organization, because what's been thrown out from the Rams organization to try to use as leverage against Matthew Stafford is laughable. So this is her on her show, her podcast. Chase Daniel is the other person that's in there. Daniel is a brilliant man. He held a clipboard for, 10 years, went to Missouri, was highly thought of. I think it was a mid-rounder. I can't even remember. Saints, Chargers, played with a number of teams, held the clipboard for 9 or 10 years, made like $45 million in the league, and I think played threw like 7 passes or something. Unbelievable. But so props to him. But here they are talking about the situation with Stafford and the Rams.
They're comfortable with Jimmy G?
Well, Matthew Stafford's looking.
Let me start this.
Here's what I know. The Rams are comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo.
They're comfortable with Jimmy G?
Well, Matthew Stafford's looking for, over $50 million a year. We're talking 2 years, up to $110 million deal.
Can he get that?
Matthew goes out, sees that there's no market for him at the price he wants, and the Rams say, all right, we'll bring you back for $40 million. Don't you think that's a fair number?
$40 million is a travesty. At this point, to be completely honest with you from a player's perspective, I would retire. If you're offering $40 million, at some point you got to be like, hold up. Trevor Lawrence is making 53. Tua's making that much money. Dak's making $60 million. I am 10 times better than these. I'm a dog. I'm a warrior. Like, no.
All right, a couple of things here. Read the room, Chase Daniel. When $40 million is a travesty, wow, $40 million, that's a travesty. I'd retire. I get his point, but I don't know that your command of the English language is all that great. It's not a travesty if you're being offered $40 million. But okay, I get your point, because he's a great quarterback and should be paid in the 55 to 60 range, or what some of these guys are getting paid. And that's why Matthew Stafford is kicking up dirt, because he's got very little guaranteed money. He's 37. If he gets hurt at any point, which is very possible, he's a massive target sitting in the pocket, and he's 37 years old. So he's thinking to himself, just like Trent Williams. Trent Williams is thinking, yeah, they're saying they want to keep me, but if I get hurt and I get no more money, I need guaranteed money. I'm not playing. So Matthew Stafford saying, I need guaranteed money, and it should be at this number, and he's not wrong. And so there's that. But at the beginning, when Diana Rossini reports to us that the Rams are comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo, that's something that somebody said within the front office of the Rams to get out there for. Please, Diana, will you tell the public that we're comfortable with Jimmy, to try to get leverage against Stafford? That's laughable. Nobody's buying that. Nobody is. And if I'm her, I say to the Rams, look, man, I get it. We need each other here. The free agency's coming up. I need information. Draft's coming up. I need information, but I can't report that, because nobody's going to believe it, and it's going to hurt my credibility. It's laughable. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a starting quarterback in the league anymore, and he hardly was when he was with the 49ers. They had so much talent around him offensively and defensively that they could hide Jimmy's flaws. He did some really good things for the 49ers. I'm not here to rip him, but he's not a starting quarterback in this league anymore, and nobody believes that the Rams would be comfortable with him. In fact, I'd love it. The Niners fans right now are going, oh, my God, the Rams are going to start Jimmy? Really? So that's how this whole thing works, and you know that. I'm just here to explain it. So she gets information. She puts out the information, no matter if it's believable or not. She must have a great source that she's close with the Rams, because if I'm her, I just don't report that. I just can't. It makes me look stupid. So anyway, she reports it. It's not true. It's a bad attempt at leverage by the Rams. And so they're still in a situation. I mean, Stafford's camp's like, go for it. You want to start Jimmy Garoppolo? We're going to hold out. We'll see. Because by week 2, they're begging Stafford to come back. He gets his $60 million or whatever he gets, so he's loving that. Go for it. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, you go ahead and do that. That's not their plan. Their plan is, A, it's Stafford. B, if it falls through and Stafford's still pounding the table for this money, then they might move him to the Raiders, like I said. The Raiders would love it. If you didn't hear what I said about the Raiders, you can go back on the show. I'm not going to do it again. But it makes sense for everybody. They bring in Sam Darnold, boom, 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 done, done, done. But this thing about Jimmy Garoppolo, there's no chance. Just none chance of this whole thing. Another thing that she reported yesterday that has no legs whatsoever is that Brandon Aiyuk is somehow going to be traded. First of all, his cap number is $11.2 million this year. it goes up to, I think, the third or fourth year, $44 million. That tells you when a contract is going to end. Even though the number in the cap is going up, they're not going to have a cap number of $44 million for Brandon Aiyuk at any point. So that's a couple of years away. But they take such a massive hit, they're just not doing it. But what this does tell me, and this is something, again, we're ahead of the game a lot of times here. What it does tell me is, I told you a couple of weeks ago, and I wrote a piece, and it's at johnlundunleashed.com on Debo, and everybody's saying Debo is going to be released. All due respect to those reporting that, and they may be right. There's such a massive market for wide receivers this year that it's too bad that Aiyuk wasn't they weren't going through this situation with Brandon Aiyuk a year ago, because so many teams need a receiver right now. So yeah, there's a lot of leverage in maybe moving Aiyuk, but what do the Niners get in return? I mean, unless you're giving me a first round pick, and I tell you this all the time, the 49ers, stay with me for this on a second. The 49ers used a first round pick on Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk was not a finished product out of Arizona State. There was bumps and bruises. You know the story. A lot of it was because Brandon A. didn't understand the physicality and the blocking and the things away from the ball. Get me the ball, get the ball. All the things that Kyle requires out of a wide receiver. There's a reason why he takes a tough guy like Debo and a tough guy like John Jennings, and those are the guys that are playing, because that's what Kyle wants out of the position. Yeah, catch the ball, but it's run after the catch. It's blocking. It's all those things. We know what Brandon Aiyuk did in week 1 against Pittsburgh in 2024, or 2023, when he blocked the DB and Christian McCaffrey going down the sidelines. They want that. And that's not what Aiyuk did. He wasn't running intricate routes. You know, okay, if it's a 7-yard route, you got to not at 9, not at 6, not at 4. There were things like that. So they use a first-round pick on him. They develop him, and he gets a ton of credit for that himself. Develop him, takes years. And then you're telling me that you'll give me a first-round pick back? How does that work? I used a first-round pick, so now we're even. Actually, we're less, because you know what you're getting in Brandon Aiyuk, and I don't know what I'm getting with that first-round pick. And I spent all this time and effort and money to make him into a 49ers type of receiver, and you just want to give me back what I invested? Like, think about that as an investment. So you invest something, and then you want to sell it flat? Like, I'm not going to do that. I used a first-round pick. I developed Brandon Aiyuk. He's our type of receiver now. Now you want to give me a lottery ticket for Brandon Aiyuk, which is a known quantity? Like, that never makes sense to me. Well, they're going to give a first-round pick. Great. I used a first-round pick. So now we're even. Now what else are you going to give me? Like, if you want Brandon Aiyuk, and I'm going to take a cap hit, a massive cap hit, because he's on the second year of a deal, and I don't want to talk too much about money because it makes people go, oh. But Brandon Aiyuk's not going anywhere. And again, a situation in which he's being used for leverage, somebody wants that out there. It's like, man, just not a good day. Not a good day for an insider. I get how it works. I know you got to throw this stuff out there. I know free agency's coming up. I know the draft's coming up, and you got to play by these rules of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But when you throw out stuff like that all the time, you start losing credibility. Brandon Aiyuk's not going anywhere. The Rams aren't comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo. Quit, stop. Stop. You're peeing into the wind and telling me it's raining. It's not. That's why Schefter is Schefter. And these guys who are insiders, because they just don't get used to that level. Like, they're going to put out some dumb stuff, but he'll tell teams, like, I can't report that. That just hurts my credibility. Like, I'm going to help you out, and I really appreciate you giving me information in return so I can be the insider who makes, I don't know, Schefter probably makes $10 million a year. You know, he's got 18 phones, and he's basically got one attached to him surgically, and he doesn't ever sleep. But that's the trade-off. Woj was like, I've had enough of this. But that's the trade-off. You have to be there 24/7, 365, but you got to be selective in what you report. And yesterday it was like, wow, I don't believe any of this stuff. So that's where we are. QB Carousel, no Cousins to the 49ers. Read all about it. That's the piece that's up at johnlundunleashed.com. Brandon Aiyuk's not going anywhere. John Lynch is speaking at 11. We're at 8:48 right now Pacific time, so he'll speak in just over 2 hours. And like I said, I'm doing the Krug show after John Lynch speaks, so we'll get into that kind of stuff. Let me go out to the chat line before I get into hate this mock pick, because I don't even know what I meant when I said I wrote this last night. So I don't even know what I meant by that, because the mock pick that I saw, and you know that what we have to do on this show, anytime there's a credible mock, I'm not talking about like my neighbor kid that does mock drafts. I'm just talking about, a credible mock. So yesterday, Mel Kiper 2.0 was out. And we're like, oh, got to report that. Daniel Jeremiah's got one, got to report that. Like, there's a number of guys. Matt Miller had one, got to report that. So Bucky Brooks had one. We had on the show a lot at KNBR. He good guy. Played the game, by the way. Was a good wide receiver out of North Carolina. Played in the NFL. Was in front offices for the NFL. So I looked at NFL.com yesterday, and he had a mock draft. And I actually like this pick. So I hate this mock pick. I got to think about that. why I did that. Maybe there was another mock. Yeah, I know what I did. I know what I did. So we'll get to that in just a second. So with mock drafts, does one drink mocktails? No, I'm not a mocktail guy. Yeah, that's a great tangent. Let's slip down to random for just a second here about drinking and mocktails and fake beers and all that kind of stuff. I like the taste of cocktails. They're fine. They're generally not healthy. I was at the doctor yesterday, and they said, where you do the questionnaire and they say how many drinks do you drink per week, and I had to debate that thing because you don't want to look like a lush, but you do want to kind of be honest. It is your health. And so I don't know if I was totally honest, but I said on the questionnaire yesterday 4. I said 4 a week. This past weekend I probably had 44, but I said 4, which probably on average, because there's a lot of times where I'll just go weeks, so I kind of averaged it out because like I'll lush out on a weekend. Like I was just in Santa Cruz the past weekend, and we went to the rotating tiki bar and went out to these things and had a great time. And we were drinking in the morning and breakfast on the beach. Like, what am I going to do? I'm on vacation. I had a bloody, had a couple of Bailey's coffees that started things, took a little bit of a break, and then knocked back into lunch and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this past weekend, but then I'll go a couple of weeks without it, so that's what I did. But then 59/84, you're asking about mocktails. Like, I don't believe in non-alcoholic beer. I'll just have water or something. I'm a big water guy. Like, I like sparkling water. Like, I'm not going to have I don't crave beer so much that I'm going to have a non-alcoholic beer. I don't crave cocktails. I think that if you're having a mocktail, then you might have a drinking problem. And I'm not calling anybody out, but like, for example, I was at a Mexican restaurant over the weekend and it was great. And they had a non-alcoholic margarita, which is just like sour mix and like lime juice. Like, I don't want that. Maybe some soda in it. Like, I'm okay. I'll just have a soda water. I'll drink this water that you brought out for me. And I don't need, by the way, fancy restaurant, I don't need sparkling water. Tap water's fine. Like, it comes out of the tap as long as it doesn't kill me. Remember, as a kid, I drank out of a hose. It's like, I'm good. Like, you don't have to ask me. They got like 3 kinds in fancy restaurants. They have like 3 kinds of waters, and they make you feel bad if you just say tap or still or spark, whatever. Like, there's this sparkling 1922 Perrier, and I'm like, no, I'm good. Just give me the tap. They're like, they walk away from the table, and I'm not gonna tip out of this guy. Like, I tip well. This water's water. Like, I like sparkling water. I got a bunch of it in my fridge, my garage fridge. But my point is that I don't drink mocktails. I don't drink fake drinks. I don't drink non-alcoholic beer. And if you do, that's totally cool. But I don't crave beer unless I'm drinking an alcoholic version of a beer at a baseball game with a hot dog in my hand. Like, if I'm drinking a regular thing, I'm not a soda guy. I like sparkling water, like water, those kind of things. And I don't drink mocktails, and I don't drink fake beer. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just saying, hi, Anthony. Good to see you. Johnny, baby. I don't know why that struck me as cool. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you like it, that's totally cool. Like, I know Tolbert's got show number 2 going on today. I believe it's at noon, the Tom Tolbert Show. Make sure that you check it out. And I believe somebody just told me, I'll believe you because I don't know this, that he has Brent Jones on today, which I have a great relationship with Brent Jones. I got to have Brent Jones on. Him and I used to go at it at Kaepernick all the time. All the time. He would give me grief about Kaepernick when we were doing the show together. But anyway, I digress. Tom did an ad when we were at KMBR near the end there. He did an ad for non-alcoholic beer, and I was like, you don't believe in non-alcoholic beer? Get out of here, man. And he's like, yeah, it's a sponsor, dude. I'm not going to call him out. But yeah, he doesn't like non-alcoholic beer, and he loves beer. Like, Tom will drink beer all the time, and Tom doesn't like non-alcoholic beer. Who does? When I see those ads, I mean, that's cool. Like, if you're the designated driver, here's 0.0 Heineken. I'm not a Heineken guy either. It's kind of skunky, but whatever. But I just, and it is hard. I will say this, because I've done those dry months before, dry January, dry this, dry that. And you're at the bar, and all I order is I'll order a tall, in a tall glass, just a soda water with a lime in it, so people think I'm drinking. Like, I don't know. I take on peer pressure, poorly. So I get it. I'm going to just give me a 0. Give me a non-alcoholic beer. I'm driving. And then people think it's a real beer. So I guess I understand the point of it. I'm just not a fan of it. That's all. Yeah, look at it. I mean, Kyle's saying, like, it's not like they get, there's no alcohol in it. Sorry, it's cheaper. So anyway, went off on a random thing right there. All right, we did do QB Carousel, no Cousins, read all about it. Aiyuk staying, Lynch at 11, Krug show after. Hate this mock pick. I think it was an offensive lineman. That's why I did it. I think there was an offensive lineman or something. Let me see if I have it over here. No, I don't know. I think there was another offensive lineman picked, and I still don't think the 49ers are going to go offensive lineman at 11. If they did do that, I think they would trade down. But this is the pick I think This is the pick that Bucky Brooks did. So again, I am contractually obligated to show you any credible mock draft. No, I'm not, but still, this guy I really like. Don't know if the Niners have the balls to do it. They might trade down, but this guy's name is Mike Green, and I guess he tore up the Senior Bowl. Not to go all Krug on you, but with Robert Saleh back in San Francisco to direct the defense, the Niners could return to their disruptive ways by snatching. Great word. By snatching up a dominant pass rushing prospect to supplement Nick Bosa and company. So this guy dominated at Marshall. See, that's what makes me a little bit nervous. He dominated at Marshall. He was a double-digit sack guy. He's about 255 pounds on like a 6'4" frame, and everybody's buzzing about him, and he's one of those guys that's moving up the draft charts, and if he has a great combine, runs really fast and everything, he could be one of those combine risers, which scares the hell out of me. And the fact that he's coming from Marshall, which is a smaller school, scares the hell out of me. So it's going to take some evaluation, but a lot of people think that guy's really good. He's a little bit undersized, though. He's not 270 on the edge. He's maybe like 245, 250. So that scares me a little, but I do like the thought process there. I really, not to force it, I really want to go D-line, but Daniel Jeremiah has said that there's a lot. He said there's 24 starting grades on defensive alignment, which is last year there was 12, to put that in perspective. So maybe a wait, because the draft is all about what you get, but it's all about the value too that you get. Not all about, but it's about the value too. So the reason you don't take a guard at 11 is because you can probably get the same guy at 18. So why not trade back and try to get another pick, which the Niners are really good at late round picks. So yeah, I didn't hate that pick. Maybe I wrote that last night and it was something about an offensive lineman, because I read so many dumb mock drafts. Must click on mock draft. I read so many dumb mock drafts that maybe I read it before. Rams used Rossini. That's what I just showed you. And again, I don't want to come across as I don't think she's great, because I do. It's just that sometimes you got to do things that you don't want to do so that you can get the information. Watch. If I'm her, it's like, look, listen, Les Snead or whoever the hell leaked out that they were comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? And I'm comfortable sleeping on nails, naked. Now, don't think about me sleeping naked, but you get the point. They're not comfortable with Jimmy, but they're trying to throw that out there. And then it's like, I mean, right when it came out of their mouth to hey, Diana, would you report this, that we're comfortable with Jimmy? Right there, coming out of his mouth, Les Snead had to say to himself, yeah, that's stupid. Like, nobody's going to believe that. You think Staffords can't believe that? Oh, man, Matt, you better sign, because they just said they're comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo as their QB1. Jeez, what are we going to do? We got no leverage here. I mean, they all laughed. Like, I wouldn't even, if I was her, I'm not reporting this. I'm just not. I'm sorry. I know I want you to help me later on, but I can't report that. It hurts my credibility, and it hurts my stomach because I started laughing when you said that to me. So no, I can't. I won't. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. All right. Do we have any more football things before I moved on to Charlotte, Golden State, Luka, Dallas, random, which happens throughout the show, and I got a corpse update for you. Let me make sure that I don't have any more NFL stuff. Oh, I do have a Bryce Eldridge update. Did I not write any Giants down there? Did I do any Giants? Maybe I'll slip that in real quick before we get into the Niners thing. I got to play this Luka thing for you too. This thing that a marketing genius for Jordan did last night. Very, very good. Yeah, Daniel, that's a great point. Before we move off Niners, Khalil Mack feels like a 49er. I wouldn't doubt that. And I showed you the free agent list yesterday. It's not very good. It's not very good at all. And Mack, that's a good point. I could see Mack, who's a great run defender, and then Mack moves inside on passing downs because he is so powerful. And then Leonard Floyd comes from the outside. That's a short-term fix. But if you're saying it's Mack and Bosa on the edges, and then on passing downs, Mack moves inside and Floyd comes from the outside, and they have somebody new on the inside at defensive tackle, whether that's DJ Jones, whether that's a draft pick, whether that's a rotation. Now you're cooking with gas. I mean, that's a good call on your part on Khalil Mack. I could totally see that. And I don't think Mack is going to break the bank. Although, again, I think he's going to be 34 this year when the season starts. He's kind of like Stafford. He's going to want one more payday. So if somebody gives him more money, I know that he would like to win. Unlike Stafford, he hasn't won a Super Bowl or been in a Super Bowl. So he might look at a situation where, whereas I think Stafford would take the money from the Raiders because I think it would be that significant and much more and many more years, and Nevada no state income tax versus California 13.3. But that's a good point on Mack. I would not be shocked if Khalil Mack was a 49er who they already tried to pursue. So I knew this was going to happen when I highlighted it. Yeah, I just, they're going to snatch him away. I think that's a great word. I told you this the other day. I don't like the word moist. I do like the word snatch. I don't know. It just seems that way to me. It seems that would just be something. Jacob, great point as well. That's a good call. Draft Mac, then draft Green. Let him learn. That wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad at all. I think they might be able to trade down to get that kid Green, but if you like somebody, you like somebody. I get it. Mel Kiper and all these other guys are like, oh, the value. They didn't get the value. And it's like, look, if you like a guy, you like a guy. You know, a lot of times I was talking to somebody yesterday about this off the air. A friend and I were having a conversation about when you draft, like, you don't have to have the first pick. Oftentimes the first pick isn't the best player. And so, you know, I'm not going to sit here and, you know, those guys freak out over, you know, if you lose a guy that you really wanted, then you look stupid because later on, that's just what's going to happen. You're like, what did Brian Thomas go? Late first round for Jacksonville at receiver. He was the third best receiver in the draft. And you might be able to make the case that he might be the best of the big three that were taken last year. So that's all. Let's see, what else do we have here before I move on? Let's do. I loved it. So when people say I disagree, I go right to those. Just not because I'm mad, because I like him. I think it makes it worse, but I said okay. That was a little while ago, so maybe I didn't understand in context what that was. I do have a star up here. Let me make sure we hit these. This is my good friend Bill M, who's, by the way, Bill M is part of the Lund Loyalists, and so we will have a chat and get everybody on the screen on Thursday. Everybody, Thursday. Plus, I'm going to get some people some gear. They choked on Patrick. They choked on Rodgers. Yeah, Rodgers. The same thing that I talked about with Cousins is with Rodgers. Like all these people who are trying to connect the Niners to Rodgers, they're not doing it anymore, but they may try to do it if the Brock and when the Brock, not if, they're going to hit a snag. When they hit a snag, oh, Aaron Rodgers is out there. Aaron Rodgers is out there. I told you about the egos. And it's too late to correct the mistake. They took Alex Smith in 2005. Live with it. Aaron Rodgers is not coming here. He's got too big of an ego. He's going to, Kyle, we're going to do this with the offense. No, we're not. This is Kyle Shanahan's offense. But by the way, did I mention Aaron Rodgers is done? He's done. He's done. And he's a pain in the ass to deal with. The Jets are eating $50 million, and they have no quarterback plan. They picked 7th. There's not going to be a quarterback on the board. Maybe they're going to reach for Jackson Dart. But Sanders and Ward, no matter what Mel Kiper said, Ward said Shedeur Sanders would last till 7 in mock draft 2.0. Not happening. So Rodgers is just like, whatever, it's done. Mahomes, hindsight is 20/20 on Mahomes. If anybody knew what Mahomes was going to be, I mean, he got picked 10th. He got picked after Mitch Trubisky. Like, if anybody knew that Mahomes was going to be Mahomes, that they're lying straight through their teeth. I watched a ton of Mahomes at Texas Tech, and essentially at that point, and it's a little bit better now, but it's not as bad. But the Big 12 played no defense, and in Texas Tech had this silly offense that would just threw, the air raid that threw it all over the place. And there had been tons of guys coming out of Texas Tech, and none of them were any good, including Cliff Kingsbury, by the way. There's boatloads of quarterbacks who put up massive numbers at Texas Tech doing that offense. Mike Leach was there for a long time, and they just kept doing it. And all these guys would come into the league, and it was like, you played in this offense that doesn't even resemble in the slightest an NFL offense, and none of them were any good. And so people were like this, Mahomes is the same thing. I mean, go back and look this up. This is an unbelievable game, just the highlights. I don't know exactly the score, but it was something like this. So Baker Mayfield was at Oklahoma. By the way, Baker started at Texas Tech. Baker Mayfield was at Oklahoma, and they took on Patrick Mahomes in Texas Tech. Somebody look this up for me because my hands are broken, and I have to stay focused on the show. I think it was something like 65-57. It might even been higher than that. Those two had a massive shootout, and Mahomes is slinging it all over and running it all over, and nobody believed that Mahomes was Mahomes. They just didn't believe it. They're like, he's way too much of a gunslinger, too much backyard football. No way. I mean, they liked the arm strength and all the physical things, but it was like, just can't do it. Can't do it. And then Alex Smith, 1 year of watching Alex a little bit, and he kind of said, okay, I get it. And he can still be Mahomes is still Mahomes, and I don't care what happened in the Super Bowl. He's still the best quarterback in the league. And Kansas City got him at 10 because people didn't trust it. And that goes back to something I said yesterday, which is the evaluation process at the most important position in sports is broken. Like Trey Lance is going to be released by the Cowboys. I don't know if Trey gets any better. In fact, do I have that cut? If I don't, I'll play it tomorrow. I know you don't like the Seahawks, but John, I'm going to find this. It's this important to me. I'm going to find this for you right now. John Schneider, who is the general manager of the Seahawks. Here, I have it right here. This is going to pop up. Let me hang on 1 second. This is good stuff. So I know you don't like the Seahawks, but let me just play this about quarterback evaluation and how difficult it is. And he says something at the end there where I'm like, why are we taking steps backward? Why are we going backward in this process? And maybe you don't care because this same process allowed the 49ers to get Brock Purdy because the process is so broken. The process is broken when Brock Purdy falls to the last pick of the draft. Like when you can get whatever you think of Brock Purdy, he's going to get paid this offseason. And he's been a really solid quarterback for the 49ers at the very least. But yet he's the last pick of the draft in today's sports world in which we get so much bombardment of information. All the analytics, all the analysis, all the he's tired, all these things that they can wear, all these different ways that you can evaluate guys at this position, the most important position in sports, but we don't know how to evaluate it still. We take Trey Lance at 3. What? And Zach Wilson at 2 in that same draft. And Trevor Lawrence, for some reason, isn't that good. And I thought that's a no-brainer. And then, like, Bo Nix comes in after 60 starts and leads the Broncos to the playoffs after they take a big $50 million burger, eat that on Wilson. They make the playoffs after Bo Nix. Bo Nix had 60-plus starts. Like, there's certain things. So the process of the quarterback position, they don't know how to evaluate it. And they not only don't know how to evaluate it, then they don't know how to develop it. And if a guy loses his confidence like Trey Lance, and now he's going to be released by the Cowboys, played 7-on-7 football in high school, 28 starts at North Dakota State, 1 in the final year because of the pandemic. And he was the best athlete on the field in a lower division college football. So he never had to learn the intricacies of the position. And now he's trying to learn it. And it's like, there's no way. He can't slow the game down, and there's no opportunity for Trey to play. Where's he going to go? Canada? The UFL? Why doesn't the NFL have a developmental league, especially for that position? And by the way, we're on the topic of it. Offensive line play has never been worse coming out of college. Like, all these people want the Niners to take an offensive lineman at 11. I wouldn't. It's a really hard evaluation right now. Lots of teams take offensive linemen high. Some of them come through. But I was on with a radio station, a friend of mine, Ian Furness at KGR in Seattle. So if you're listening up from Seattle, thank you for coming in. We always get people from Seattle after I do his show every single week. But in that draft, Seattle, Carolina, and New York, the Giants, took offensive tackles in the top 10. And, like, Cross is good, okay to good. The other two are just Like, it's tough in the NFL to evaluate those positions. They need to have a developmental league, and the league makes so much damn money. And wouldn't you watch it? That was another thing we were talking about. I mean, if your guy, let's say Trey Lance, let's just take it back to Trey Lance, and Trey Lance is playing for some team, not in Europe. I don't want the rain fire. I don't want him to go over Europe to do it. Like, just like minor league baseball. Like, it's cool to go down and watch the San Jose Giants because at some point those guys are going to be there, or Sacramento A's. But to see the AAA guys, it's like you'll go there because they're guys within your organization and you care. So if the same thing with football, like these random leagues, I don't have any connection to any of these guys. They're not going to be Niners that I know of. But if guys would go down there and develop, and they could, and the way they do things in the offseason, sorry, you can't be here very often. Got to get another quarterback coach who's got a different message. Like, it's just screwed up. So here's John Schneider of the Seahawks yesterday at the Combine, and this is going to be John Lynch at 11 in about 2 hours doing the same thing. But he was asked about how hard it is to evaluate and develop quarterbacks in the league right now.
The evaluation is just just the football knowledge, the confidence, the person spending time with, our connections to other coaches around the National Football League, players that have played with the individual, coaches that have coached the player. It's hard, without, when NFL Europe was around, it was awesome. Those guys had an opportunity to go play in the spring. And so there was just better development at that time for more seasoned quarterbacks.
So, I mean, why would you go backwards? Like, what, is the NFL broke? Do they not have any money? Like, what? I don't want it to be NFL Europe, though, but there's enough players that need development. Free agents, late rounders, guys who need to play. How do they get better? Certain guys sit behind great players. Like, you're supposed to draft the philosophy is, and this is why it's inaccurate. The philosophy is supposed to be draft best available player. But if I'm set at that position, then I draft best available player and he never plays. Like, how does Ricky Pearsall get better? Like last year, how does Pearsall get better? How does Trey Lance get better? How do young players get better? You have to play. All these guys are like, well, he got the reps in the meetings. No, so whatever. Like, you got to play. You got to do something to get better at it. You can't read about it, nerd. You can't read and this and that. Yeah, you can learn the language. Like I heard somebody within the Vikings yesterday was saying, well, J.J. McCarthy got the mental reps and he knows the language we speak now. And it's like, that's great. But you're taking a hell of a risk to let Sam Darnold go so that J.J. McCarthy learned it in the classroom and can go out there and execute it because of his injury last year. You don't know. You're taking a massive risk. Maybe. I mean, you know, a little bit more than you did when you took him out of Michigan if you're Minnesota, but you're coming off like a 14-3 year and you're going to let Darnold go? Maybe. But I'm saying, and you heard it from John Schneider right there, the GM of the Seahawks, you had a developmental league in which these guys could get reps and you took it away. Why? Like, it's the most important position in sports. And like I said, there's 3 elite ones in the league right now. And you can probably go up to 10 on any given Sunday where you say that those are really good quarterbacks. The rest of them are generally garbage or up and down in a 32 league, a 32 team league. So you're looking at 20 quarterbacks who are just certainly 15 to 32 are just like and then 20 plus are let alone backups. Like backup for like Jim Mora, backup playoffs, backup. There's no backups. There's 1 or 2 that can win you a few games, but if your quarterback is hurt, give me a guy that there wouldn't be a drop off at all. Like those 2 guys are about the same. There's no drop off. Like you lose your quarterback, it changes the total trajectory of your season. There's just not enough. There's 10 to 15 tops, and I'm being generous when I say up to 15. There's probably not even 15. There's 3 elite. There's probably another handful in the next level, and then from that point forward, it's like, who knows? Total grab bag at the position most important in sports. And yet here we are going, let's make a rule about no tush push. Great idea. Tush push sucks. How about develop quarterbacks? How about figure out a way and spend your time on, God, we have 10 good quarterbacks in a 32-team league. How do we fix that? We don't have offensive linemen who can protect all that investment. Why don't we fix that? How hard would it be? Let's get a league together. People would watch it. If my guy, and it says Niners right next to him, and he's actually playing, and I could see Trey Lance in a game back in the day, and he could throw to people and run my offense. Okay, as a general rule, we're putting in the Shanahan offense, and everybody's going to run a version of the Shanahan offense in this developmental league. And then everybody gets to play, and everybody gets to develop, and now you can see. Because Trey Lance shouldn't have to go to Canada or the UFL or lose his confidence completely. Somebody's going to take a flyer on him, but he's going to be a third-string quarterback, and he's not ever going to develop, and and this is the biggest problem, it's not physical with Trey. He's not accurate, but he has no confidence. How does he regain his confidence? Sam Darnold was a 3rd overall pick of the draft. And he had to come to San Francisco, play behind Brock, regain his confidence. It's okay, Sam. Everything's fine. There's no ghosts here. Everything's good. And he's one of the few that could do it, could make himself into a good quarterback. And I still don't know if he can do it long term. But the league is starving for guys like that. And this is why, let's turn this right back to the 49ers, and then I promise I'll get to other things because I said I would. But this is why Brock Purdy's getting paid all this money. When everybody comes out, this is a big circle. It's a long way to get to this point. But everybody, Brock Purdy's not worth it. He might not be. But what else are they going to do? There's nothing else. You're going to go sign Sam Darnold? You're going to think that Daniel Jones gets out of New York and he can be better? I mean, there is something to Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield and everything, but the problem with those guys, like Baker was the 1st overall pick of the draft. It took Baker Mayfield to bounce to a couple of teams, went to the Rams, won that one game on Monday night, and then goes to a safe place in Tampa where they don't have a quarterback, and he didn't ever lack confidence. It was like getting another opportunity. And so it took Baker 3, 4, 5 years of reps and mistakes and all these kind of things. Played in Cleveland, which is a joke. They don't know how to develop quarterbacks, clearly. It's just an issue. They don't know how to develop them. Well, then why do you have to pay Brock Purdy $50, $60 million? Because you don't have another option. That's where the mistake of Brandon Aiyuk came in last year. There's other receivers out there. You can draft them. You can get them. You can sign them. You can get them in the middle of the late rounds. Juwan Jennings was a 7th-round pick. Debo was a 2. You go on down the line. You don't have to take wide receivers high, and they don't have the leverage. There's a ton of them coming in this season that are going to be really, really good. So they don't have the leverage. You paid Brandon Aiyuk $30 million. He called your bluff. He paid. But as far as Brock Purdy is concerned, if you're one of those people that don't want to pay Brock, it's because the league doesn't develop enough quarterbacks. Like I said, there's 3 elite. There's another 5 probably. And then after that, it's kind of like up and down week to week. Brock's kind of in that realm, in that group. And I like Brock a lot.
But that's why you have to pay him, because there's just not enough of these guys to go around. There's not enough of these guys to go around because the league can't develop them. And that's why when everybody screams and yells and says, he's not worth it, what else you can do? That's why when the Rams shop Matthew Stafford, and then we'll quit on this discussion, when the Rams are taking inquiries, or allowing, I should say, to be accurate, allowing Matthew Stafford's team to shop his services, it's because they have a backup plan. And it ain't Jimmy Garoppolo. I can tell you that, Diana Rossini. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo. It's laughable to think that you would report that Jimmy Garoppolo, that the Rams are comfortable with it. No, they're not. You know they're not. It's like Stafford's side laughed when they saw that. Oh, yeah, nice leverage ploy. Like, why even report that? It's not true at all. It's just stupid. Like, let's get some leverage here. Hey, Diana, get her on the line. Tell them we're comfortable with Jimmy. Okay, yeah. I'm comfortable sleeping on nails naked with a bunch of, anyway, I was going to get, you're eating breakfast. You understand what I'm saying. There's just not enough. So you got to pay Brock Purdy a bunch of money because there's not another alternative. Now, the Rams may have one in Sam Darnold, and you can go read about it at johnlundunleashed.com. All right. Check the chat. Let me play this thing, because you're going to laugh, because we're going to get commentary from Marty in just a second. You are the man, Bill. You are the man. Bravo, Bill M. Bravo, my friend. What did I say? 60? Did I say 50? I don't even remember what I said. I know it was high scoring. I said something like that. I think I was close. 66-59 in the game between Mahomes and Baker Mayfield. Thank you, Bill M. Thank you for my taking care of my laziness. I can't even, my fingers are broken. I can't even move over. I can't even do that. Yeah, 66-59. And people are like, don't play any defense in that league. Mahomes isn't that good. He's running around. He was. I just remember him and Baker just back and forth. Awesome game. Awesome game. Yeah, 66-59. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. Other people probably did that, and I'll double check. But Bill paid for it, and he gets the credit. That's how it works around here. No, I wasn't reading. Wasn't reading anything. Let's see. What do we? Yeah, I'm with you on this one too. It's just the way the league works. I'm okay with Purdy making whatever. It's just the way it is. I mean, look, he's going to make the money. He's the latest. He's not the greatest. He's the latest. That's how contracts work in sports. You don't have to be the greatest. You just have to be the latest. Red Sox 04. Hello, Red Sox 04. He's quit. He quit. Who quit? Sorry, I went through about 50 different things, and I'm going through some of these, and I always forget what we're doing. All right. Oh, wow. That hurts. That's very painful. I'm looking to hire a delivery driver at one of my plants. Perhaps no chance. Lance needs a job. Somebody will pick him up, but I don't know how he plays. Somebody's going to pick him up because they're intrigued. Somebody's going to pick him up because they had a high grade for him when he came out, and he's not going to get an opportunity to develop. There's no place for him to develop. There's not. And they're going to cut it down to 2 preseason games and play 18 regular season games. So it's just going to be practice. And the problem with Trey is, A, he's never had to be intricate in the way that he's played, and B, he's wildly inaccurate, wildly nuclear inaccurate. And I don't know how you fix that unless you play. All right, let's go to this. You're going to enjoy this. What time we got? Do I have enough time here? Because John Lynch, it's only 9:17. We're totally fine. All right, so Bryce Eldridge, and I wrote about this too at johnlundunleashed.com, and I just gave you my annual spring training warning, which is, no matter whether it's good or bad, the only thing you need to worry about in spring training is that your team doesn't get injured. Your pitcher. We don't want to hear anything about Justin Verlander's neck. We don't want to hear anything about any strains or breaks or fractures or anything like that. Just the worst thing you can hear is injury. There's a 162-game gauntlet awaiting these guys back here in the Bay Area. No injuries, no strains, no hurts. I think it's already with Ramos. He's not playing because of an oblique. And I don't want to jump on things early because I've said this numerous times. Are we going to get Ramos from the first half, an all-star, or Ramos from the second half, who was like a 4A player? That's a question in left field. The Giants are saying, of course they're saying, well, we're going to get Ramos from the first half. Okay. But as we saw from the 49ers in this last offseason, or this last season, you get these ominous signs early in the year where you go, oh boy. And so I hope I'm wrong in that. But when I see oblique, which is a nagging injury, which is a tough injury to come back from, and maybe it's no big deal because I'm not down at spring training, and we'll get later on the week, we'll get some people from spring training to give us some insights here. But when I hear about an oblique and something, then it's like, oh, he's off to this start, and I hope I'm wrong, but that's just kind of where my mind goes. So I tell you about spring training. Don't need to worry about anything. And I put a list together at johnlundunleashed.com, and I did this blog about the Giants and my annual spring training warning. And I put a list of players together who had last year great spring trainings, terrible years, terrible spring trainings, great year. Sometimes it does mean something, sometimes it doesn't. So I have a whole list of players, mostly locals, whether they be the Giants or the A's, who were great. Like Brent Rooker was terrible in spring, was great during the season. Logan Webb was 0-3 with a spring training worst 10.97 ERA last spring. 0-3, 10.97. Had his normal year of over 200 innings, 3.47 ERA. So, I don't know if he's working on a fastball, his changeup. Robbie Ray, who pitched well yesterday, Robbie Ray called, who did he call? Called somebody with I think it was a change or a new, Robbie Ray was working on a new pitch yesterday, and it really worked well for him. So I don't know. Robbie Ray's working on a brand new pitch. Somebody hit that thing out. He didn't have that pitch before, and he's 33. So you don't know. I said this in the piece, and it's perfect. Yeah, Robbie Ray's working on a new pitch yesterday. Are you just throwing fastballs? Is Justin Verlander just trying to get in rhythm back? All a hitter's trying to do is get in work, get in rhythm, get in the dugout. I've been told that a million times. Get your work in, get in the dugout. Get your work in, get in your dugout. Hitters want to get rhythm. They don't care. I mean, it'd be nice to hit one out, everything. But as Will Clark used to say, don't leave all your hits in Arizona now. There's an old adage of that. I don't care. There was a kid for the A's last year who went 21 of 44. 21 of 44 in the spring. Didn't make the team. And then last year for the Vegas Aviators, never came up, hit like 255. Don't leave all your hits in Arizona, son. So it goes both ways. So the reason I bring all that up and blah, 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 is that Bryce Eldridge hits a home run in his first, I think, at bat of the spring. It was a majestic, beautiful shot to right field. Everyone was freaking out. Can Bryce Eldridge make the team? Blah, blah, blah. So then yesterday, and this is wonderful. You do not want to miss this. If you're about ready to go to a meeting or leave or go, lunch boring, hang on. Marty Lurie is here to save us because Marty you can hear Marty in the background. He's taping this. And Marty is doing kind of a pseudo play-by-play of these two at-bats. So this is Bryce Eldridge's two at-bats yesterday, both strikeouts. So again, he's the greatest. He hits a home run in his first at-bat, and then teams are like, okay, let's see if you like stuff low and away and in the dirt. Oh, you don't. You're a typical hitter. So he's going to have to adjust. So here is Bryce with help from Marty.
Bad. One strikeout.
Oh, hang on. I got this in the middle here. It's better.
Takes a strike. Takes another strike. And swings at an outside pitch, and that's his first at bat. One strikeout. Okay, there's Bryce Eldridge's second at bat. Chase that one. That's it.
Well done, Marty. Well done. I sped that up and edited some of the stuff out, but it was 6 pitches to Bryce Eldridge yesterday, 2 strikeouts. 6 pitches, 2 strikeouts. So is he the home run masher? Maybe. Is he the strikeout guy? Maybe. But as I tell you, and at first you say, Lund, this makes no sense. Maybe it means something. Maybe it doesn't. And you're saying to yourself, Lund, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said, amongst many dumb things that I've said. But it's 100% the truth. And I don't know what Bryce Eldridge is. Now, this is CBS Sports. This is kind of interesting. They did a list of 9 top prospects and whether they'd make their teams or not. And they did. And there was 3 or 4 guys that said absolutely going to make it. Then it was like maybe. And then this is the list that Eldridge is on, which is not likely. And this is why they say so. So this is from CBS Sports. Will Bryce Eldridge make the Giants? It says, on the face, Eldridge making the opening day roster would seem premature. Only celebrated his 20th birthday, October. Appeared in double-digit games in AA or AAA. At the same time, the Giants did rush him up the ladder late last year. On debuting this season, doesn't quell speculation. There's clearly a pathway onto the roster, blah, blah, blah. I don't think Eldridge is all that likely to crack the opening day roster, but this is Buster Posey's first spring in charge, and I suppose he could develop as a different view in the coming weeks. The main reason why, and teams are different, and you know this, but let me explain this a little bit. Teams are different. They're going to rush guys through the system. They're fine with it. And the reason why is we live in a microwave society. Sports is no different. We want it now. We want a gourmet meal at a McDonald's drive-thru. Give it to us or else. So that's what we want. Sports is no different. We are, as fans, we're paying a lot of money. We put a lot of time. If you want to rebuild, okay, to a certain extent, but I don't think you're going to tear down to the studs like the Astros and the Cubs did to win championships, especially in the Bay Area. We just don't have patience for that. And we hear Bryce Eldridge. They have a need at first base, a screaming need. It's a power position. Lamont Wade Jr. is often hurt or walking, which is fine if you had guys to drive him in. They kind of don't on this team. So, yeah, an upgrade is needed at first base. Lots of people talk Pete Alonso, things like that, and they must have a lot of confidence in Bryce Eldridge because they didn't look at any of those options. Not only Pete Alonso, but there was other ones, like a guy like Spencer Torkelson, for example, who fell out of favor in Detroit. He's a former first overall pick. He hasn't lived up to things, but he's had a 20-plus home run season. He hasn't been great, but there was word that he was available in the offseason. Why not take a kind of a flyer on him? He's a right-handed hitter versus a left-handed hitter. Bryce Eldridge is going to be hitting a lot of balls into triples alley and outs that would be home runs other places, but whatever. He's got big-time power. I like Bryce Eldridge. They must like him because they didn't go out and even get a short-term fix at first base and upgrade off Lamont Wade Jr. So if he's not here for the opening day roster and all this manipulation of playing time or of all that kind of stuff due to contracts, that's not as much of a thing as it used to be. It still is a little bit of a thing, but not as much as it used to be. But they'll rush guys through systems because they're not as concerned as they used to be about the confidence. If you're not confident, if you strike out a few times like Bryce Eldridge, I just showed you with the help from Marty's commentary, which was tremendous. If you can't get through a few of those things, then you're not going to be in the big leagues very long. Anyway, that's kind of the philosophy which has changed. It used to be like kid gloves, right? Can't bring him up till he's ready. He's going to lose his confidence. They just anymore. They're just like, oh, well, I mean, it's the Luis Matos thing now. If you're hot, we're going to bring you up. If you can't hit for a long time, we're going to bring you back down. Yo. I used to be like, whoa, can't do that. They don't care about it as much anymore. So I think that Bryce Eldridge is going to be the opening day first baseman, unless there's an injury to Lamont Wade and they think, well, this is what we got to do. We're just going to throw the guy in. If Lamont Wade Jr. is healthy, which is always an if lately, then Eldridge is going to start the year in AAA. But if he gets off to a hot start, that's what we saw. Now, I think Farhan was that way, but I think Buster's the same way. I think baseball is this way. Jackson Holiday, for example, he was only 19 last year. Orioles needed a second baseman. He was rolling at AAA. Jackson Holiday comes up, couldn't fall out of a boat and hit water. He was hitting like 091, striking out 60% of the time. So they put him back at AAA. Took him a minute, started tearing it up. I saw a little bit of his spring. The guy's bulked up, bigger. He's going to be ready to play second base. He didn't be like, I suck. I can't play at the major league level. He went, worked on things, got bigger, and probably is poised to have a good year at the age of like 20. I think the Giants do the same thing. If Bryce Eldridge gets off to a screaming start at Sacramento and Lamont Wade Jr. is either struggling or hurt or whatever, I think at some point during the season, they'll bring him up because that's what they've done. If you're a hot guy at AAA, that's why Ramos was called up. Ramos was hot. And after a while, we were talking about it constantly on KNBR, like Ramos, he's hot. And remember, he got kicked out of spring, not kicked out, but they got him out of spring training into minor league camp really fast last year. But then he got up to a hot start, and after a while, it was like, we got to see what this guy is. And Montos has been on a yo-yo, guys like that. If Eldridge is off to a hot start, he's going to be up here sooner rather than later. I just don't know that it's going to be in the opener unless Wade is hurt. So that's my Giants update. We will have a spring training update. I'm working on dotting I's, crossing T's, and a couple of people as far as that goes. By the way, one more thing, and then we'll get into the NBA. I don't use the word hate a lot, but I dislike this lineup. Jung-Hoo Lee, fine. Willie Adames, Matt Chapman. That's going to be the three. Encarnacion, a lot of people love. He's in there because Ramos is out. He's got massive power. I still don't know, but here's where I go. Ugh, and tells you where this team is. Wilmer Flores at first. God, I like Wilmer. He's a super nice guy, but if he's on your team, it tells you where you are. Casey Schmidt, it's well documented that I have tons of Casey Schmidt cards and signed cards. I just got him out of packs. And so I was like, he's going to send my kid through college when he first got up, and now he's just not very good. He still chases terrible pitches. I'd love him to be good, but I'm not a huge fan. Bailey's fine, and Yastrzemski, I told you. He's a fourth outfielder in my book, great defender, but up too much up and down as a hitter. And then David Villar, who I had on my show tons of times at KNBR, one of the most enjoyable interviews that you'll ever see or ever hear. He's a great guy to talk to, understands the game, understands how to change things, but he's your typical 4A player, and if he's on your team, again, that tells you where you are. And then Jordan Hicks I'd love Jordan Hicks to be a seventh inning guy. If you got Jordan Hicks and Duvall and Walker, I think your 7, 8, 9 is hammer time. But they're going to have Hicks in the rotation again, and he's going to be 5 and fly. And everybody's going to say how great he is because he's going to be pretty good in that 5 and fly role. Then by the middle of the season, he's tired and he has to go to the bullpen. It's like, come on, man. Can you signed him to a 4 and 4 to full. You signed him to the old Steph Curry contract. He can throw 102 out of the pen, or he can throw like 96, 97 as a starter and go 5 innings, which is more effective for you. You've got enough pitchers in this rotation. It's another reason why I think like Jack Flaherty went back to the Tigers for like $17 million. Like I'd have brought another arm in, and I'd have said, Jordan Hicks, we tried you for a year. You know, you can be an opener. We'll do openers with you, but we want you to be the 7th inning guy, and want Duvall to be the 8th inning guy, and want Walker to be the 9th inning guy. That's big time. I want big arms in the pen. I want him coming out at 102. I want Duvall coming out at 100. I want Walker throwing his nasty stuff all over the place with that crossfire motion of his. Like that's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Like Hicks is an okay starter. He's a 4-5 type of starter, going 5. So I got to tax my bullpen with him. As a 7th inning guy, he's one of the better 7th inning guys in the league. Put guys in a position where they're going to play their best. You know, everybody sits there and, you know, this guy can't play that. Well, it depends on the role that you give him. If you give a guy a right role, he can be awesome. I think Jordan Hicks in the 7th inning, like your pitcher should be able to go 6. A Verlander who's a dog, if I'm believing what they're trying to sell, you know, obviously Webb's going to go 7 or 8. You know, Robbie Ray's 33. He's been a horse his whole career. He should be a 6 or a 7 inning guy. So I'm not taxing my pen. These guys can go 6. And I got Hicks, I got Duvall, and I got Walker. That's good. That's really good. But no, he's going to be a 5 and fly guy and be just end up around a 4-something ERA, be okay, when he could be throwing 102 out of the pen. So I looked at that lineup today, and there's just guys that I'm just like, I don't love their roles or their 4A guys, or just shows you where you are as an organization. The fact that they're playing for your team on a regular basis, man, don't love today's lineup. And watch, they'll score like 11 runs. All right, let me get to this. I've been dying to play this the whole time. So here's where we are in the chalkboard, by the way. Episode 71. Went through QB Carousel. Go to johnlundunleashed.com to read the piece I wrote about Stafford and how it affects the 49ers. No Cousins. This is going to come up in leverage talks. Mark my words. They're going to stall with Purdy, and then they're going to hear all about Cousins because he's going to be free. Read all about it. It's the piece. Aiyuk is staying. Don't buy any of that stuff. Lynch at 11 o'clock. He's going to talk from the combine. I'll be on the Krug show after to talk about it with Larry Krueger. I don't hate the mock draft. It was Mike Green out of Marshall's, the latest from Bucky Brooks. The Rams used Rossini. I just explained to you how that whole thing works. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. We're not buying Jimmy Garoppolo. No one's buying Jimmy Garoppolo. The Rams aren't comfortable with him. Don't report that. Now we're at, we already did some baseball, which I didn't put on the board. The Hornets versus the Warriors. And I'm not trying to downplay what the Warriors are doing, but look at this number on the Hornets. This is how bad they are. Historically bad. They lost their last 3 games by a combined 131 points. 53 to the Blazers, 42 to the Kings, and 36 last night to the Warriors. It's the worst 3-game stretch in NBA history. You can read. But that's who the Warriors played last night. And I'm not trying to say that they should be downgraded because of it. I'm just simply saying that is a bad, bad, bad team. So let me, I just hit the wrong button there. Let me look at the box score from last night. Then I got something interesting that you and I talked about here. Let's see here. No, that's the wrong button. What's wrong with me today? There we go. Right there. That's what I want to share with you. Where is the box? There we go. The box score. All right. That's last night. The Warriors win this thing, like you said, 128-92. They win by 36. The best thing that happened last night now for the 31-27 8th place Warriors is that Jimmy Butler played less than 19. Moses Moody, they're undefeated when he starts. Draymond was great last night. Podziemski, it's coincided with, and I don't know if it's the way Butler plays and they play off each other well, or he's helped Brandon Podziemski in some way. But Pods didn't play a ton last night, but still an efficient game last night for him. He's playing much better since Jimmy arrived. Steph Curry is Steph Curry, but again, you look at those numbers, he played less than 24 minutes because they blew him out. And then you got the guys off the bench, all those guys, which is fine. Couldn't Post get kicked out of that game last night. That's pretty funny. But anyway, there's the box. They blow out Charlotte. There's not a lot to learn from that. I just wanted to kind of show you the main thing about that was they didn't have to play a whole lot of minutes, which was very, very good. But here's the main thing that I wanted to show you in regards to the Warriors. There we go. All right. That's not professional. That's chicken scratch. That's how I write. I apologize in advance for that, but that is chicken scratch, and that's my chicken scratch. So the line there is the games they have not played. The line from the top, Chicago, those are W's and L's, wins and losses, wins in blue, L's, the red L there. That's since Jimmy arrived. So they beat Chicago, beat Milwaukee on the road, lost at Dallas. That was unbelievable. The next night they bounced back against Houston, who's really struggling, beat Sacramento, beat Dallas at home, and they just smoked, I tell you, Charlotte. So what is that, 6-1 with Jimmy? Now, you and I went through this without the scribbling on it before, and I said that they would go 8-2 in this run. So Orlando should be a win. These are projected wins in yellow, and you never can do that. At Philadelphia, they're a dumpster fire. Like, Paul George is terrible. Good thing they didn't sign him. Joel Embiid is hurt. People are talking about trading him in the offseason. Then you play at Charlotte. They stink. The Knicks are good. At the Knicks, that's going to be a problem. Brooklyn stinks. The Pistons are on a big-time winning streak, so that's not going to be an easy one, even though it's home. Portland, not very good. Sacramento, even though Zach LaVine scored 42 the other night, that should be a win, but who knows in this league. So, and then you go to New York. You got Denver right there. I put as an L. Milwaukee, then it gets kind of easy. Toronto, Atlanta, those are both on the road, though. And then Jimmy's return to Miami, I put down there at the bottom. So combined, this is what I am predicting, and you can write this down and then laugh at me when it becomes horribly sideways wrong, is that they're 6-1 with Jimmy. The rest of those next 13 games I put at 9-4, so that's a 15-5 stretch if the Warriors do anything like that. The losses I have in there are at New York. Then you got New York at home, Denver. I don't know. They might even win those games. And then going to Miami, which maybe not. I mean, they can even do better than that, a 15-5 stretch. But being 10 over a 20-game stretch with Jimmy is pretty good. So I'm pretty optimistic about the way that they're playing. I'm not down on Charlotte. I'm just saying that's the way that Charlotte is playing. So I'll take that off the screen for you. But my point in putting it up there was I knew that they would go through this stretch. They were going to go through this stretch with Wiggins or with Butler. These are lesser teams. They should be beating these teams. I believe that Jimmy Butler's making a huge difference. I'm not ready to make the proclamation that Draymond is, but I do believe Draymond should believe it. And everybody was all for Draymond, just guaranteed they're going to win a championship. Well, what else is he going to say? Does Draymond Green, who's an ultimate winner, think they're not going to win? He better believe they're going to win. You and I can sit here and debate whether they're going to win. They better believe they're going to win in that locker room, and right now they do. And they're at 8. They're up at 8. They're close to 6. If they get to 6, I think all bets are off. I think they can win a series or 2. I still don't think they can win a championship, but stranger things have happened. 22 was kind of like that as well. All of a sudden, there's a lot of young teams in the West. I would not want to see Denver. I would not want to see the Lakers. We're going to get into Luka in just a second. There's some teams that just are not great matchups against the Warriors, but going into the playoffs, if they play some of those young teams, and I sound like a broken record a little bit on this, but Houston, who's reeling, Memphis, who's young, Oklahoma City hasn't won anything. Those are good teams. I'm not saying they're not. It's just I pointed this out before. You win one game in their place, and all of a sudden it's on because they're going, oh, my God, we just had a great season. Pressure's all on them. Warriors are laid back, been there, done that. If they play young teams in the playoffs, I think they have a chance. It's just doing it series after series after series at their age is going to be tough. And that's why a game like last night is absolutely imperative. You can't screw around with Charlotte. They blew the doors off Charlotte, beat them by 36. Charlotte's playing terrible basketball. It's when you play a team in sports. And they were able to rest their guys a lot last night. And that's when, we remember in 2022, resting. How many fourth quarters did Steph just chill? That's what they got going. And if they can keep doing that and get in their older team getting rest, they're going to be dangerous come playoff time. That's what I think. Let me play this Luka thing. So last night, I don't know if you saw any of this game last night, but Luka. By the way, Jordan Brand did this amazing thing, but Luka almost had a triple-double by halftime. ESPN's playing the whole thing up. Nico Harrison is staring at Luka, and Luka's staring back over at Nico Harrison. Rob Pelinka is wearing the tightest pants I've ever seen. Go to at John Lund Radio on X, and you can see this whole thing. Rob Pelinka is wearing the tightest pants I've ever seen in my life. Like, bro, there's nothing to the imagination, and they're like 3 feet short on the bottom. Like, when I was going to school, like if you had floods on, it was like, what, are those hand-me-downs, and your family can't afford pants that fit? But I guess that must be, believe me, look at me. I'm not a trendsetter here. I don't set trends in fashion. I know that that's hard to believe, but I don't. I'm more of a comfort guy, especially because I'm working out of my studio all the time now. I generally shower. I do brush my teeth, despite the fact that the voice lady says I don't. So I'm not setting any fashion tips on anybody. But in fact, maybe I'll pull this up just because I think it's so hilarious. But it's like Rob Pelinka is wearing the tightest pants in history. Not that that should matter. But Luka almost had a triple-double by halftime. And I'm going to throw a pass up there. In fact, no, I'll do that after this. Luka, if you could look at the trade in one play and say, this is why you don't make that trade, amongst all the other things I've said about the trade, I'm going to show it to you in just a second. But this is how cold Jordan Brand is. He's got this car that he actually pulled up to the game in. So they're playing Dallas for the first time, but it's in LA. He pulls up to the game in this car after Jordan Brand plays this commercial before the game. It's on ESPN. Set to all my exes live in Texas. Somebody's going to get a big raise because of this. Check this out. That's the end. I'm sorry I keep screwing this up. So Texas license plate. Takes it off.
Texas did.
I mean, come on. They do that pregame, and then Luka pulls up into the Lakers garage with a gazillion cameras all around in that very car, and on the back of it and on the front hood, it has a big Jordan Brand on it. So somebody's getting a massive raise. Like whoever came up with the concept, maybe it was a team, but whoever came to the concept, well, it looks like a Batmobile. This thing is so badass. And he pulls up in that thing, and he gets out of it and kind of has this sly smile on his face because he knows the spot's running that day. So it's, if you didn't see the beginning of it, there's a Texas 77 plate on it. And then he takes it off and puts on the California plate and then fires the whole thing up, and it's Jordan Brand. And then he pulls up in that very car and then has almost a triple-double in the first half. They beat Dallas, has a triple-double in the game. And even afterwards, I give Luka a ton of credit because he was like, it's a pretty tough game to play. He's going to have to go back to Dallas. He's not into this whole thing like screw Dallas. He was there for years, and he grew up there. He was 19 years old when he was drafted by the Mavericks. So he's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. But let me play this for you. And this is Anthony Davis is a really nice player, and he makes others around him better. And he was there last night, but he was hurt. And Anthony Davis unfairly has been labeled as a off injured guy, is injury prone, and he's not. He played in a ton of games for the Lakers. It just happens to be bad luck that he got hurt in Dallas. But here is one play that illustrates why you do not trade Luka. He's Magic Johnson. Like, how does he see Austin Reeves at all? How does he know he's there? They've hardly played together. I mean, this is the guy that's been on this team less than 2 weeks. Remember, he didn't play in the beginning, and exactly what I said was going to happen is happening. I don't know if it's Ozempic or whatever's going on, but Luka's is in better shape. He's got a tinge of less whiteness to him, Larry Bird clear, but he is Larry Bird. So, he's getting a little bit of vitamin D. He's getting outside. He's liking the beach. He's eating kale salads instead of Texas barbecue. He's already lost a few pounds. And that's the kind of things he does. I have no idea, A, how he saw Austin Reeves in the play, and B, how the hell, without even turning around, he must literally have eyes in the back of his head where he flips it and it's a perfect pass. He makes everybody better. And he's 25, and now things are coming out. I think Dallas, again, this is insiders, and this is Dallas trying to make themselves look better. That pictures of Luka smoking at a hookah bar. There's pictures of Luka drinking a beer, which a million players do. Like, so what? Guys smoke at a hookah bar. Guys drink. There's pictures of him. Like, spies were following him around like for weeks. They're like, okay, let's take these pictures and video of Luka so that when we trade him, he looks better. Like, all of a sudden these things come out. Look, he was smoking. Oh, look, he was drinking. Yeah, that's what guys do. That's what people do. It's not like in the contract. In the contract it says like you can't jet ski, you can't snow ski, you can't this, you can't that. It doesn't say anywhere he can't hookah. It doesn't say anywhere he can't drink beers. Like, everybody's like, oh, he was fat. And well, then that's your problem, Dallas. Then you get on the guy. You tell him you expect more. You tell him that because with that big contract extension coming up, that let's go. Like, you got to be better. Fine. Like, fine. But don't blame it on all of a sudden he's in LA and he's in good shape. That's what good organizations do. You can say whatever you want about the Lakers and say how much you hate them, but all of a sudden Luka looks better and he's in shape. In like 2 weeks, he probably lost 10 pounds. And then he does stuff like that. And you're like, you're Nico Harrison, who was at the game, the general manager of Dallas, who I don't buy, did that trade on his own. I just don't at all. And now weird stuff's coming out about Luka at a hookah bar and drinking beer, and there's pictures and video of it. Like, come on, man. It's like somebody behind a tree. Like, they're trying to set this trade up. Look, they're going to have to live with it. But you watch last night, just the buzz that's created. Jordan Brand does this thing, throws this pass where he's got eyes in the back of his head. It's like, you don't trade 25-year-old guys who can do that. It's stupid. So anyway, that's what happened last night. Let me pull this Pelinka thing up. Let me see if I can do that. Because you gotta see how tight these pants are. Again, maybe it's just me. Because I understand there's a certain style that's going on right now. I have some of those pants, but they're not that tight. And they're just not. Let me see right now. There it is right there. Let me see if I can get this picture real quick up for you. And then, because I just want you to decide. Like, are these pants too tight or am I just being weird? Because it's very possible that I'm just being weird. He's talking to Bill Duffy, by the way, who is the agent for Luka Doncic, and that's why everyone's like, oh, they must be talking about something big. And I'm like, probably not. I'm probably talking about how tight the pants are and why do you have to wear tight pants nowadays. So let me, there's that button. That tells you that if you heard that tells you it went through. So let me see if I can get this real quick. I don't know why. This is, by the way, we're at the random part because we just did Luka versus Dallas. We did Charlotte versus Golden State. We're near the bottom here. So let me just grab something here for you, and you tell me if I'm just being overly critical, which is very possible. Maybe I'm being overly critical. Here it is, right here, on air producing. Everybody, all right? Am I being overly critical? Being a guy that look at me, like, come on, I'm not the person you should talk to when it comes to fashion. Although my wife's, for some reason, every time, not sometimes, every time before we go out, asks me the same thing. What do you think? How do I look? Look, you know what I'm going to say. You shouldn't ask people questions when you know the answer. How do I look? You look amazing. You've never looked better. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? Oh my God, that makes you look fat. Like, no guy says that. And if you say that, you're not very bright. And you're definitely going to be sleeping on the couch, and that relationship is going to be very short. If I can just give you one piece of advice, she looks great. Oh my God, you look amazing. Well, what about this one? That's what my wife does that screws me up and throws the curveball at me. She'll put something on before we're going out. I'm like, that looks amazing. And then she'll come out 5 minutes later and she'll go, or should I do this? And then what am I supposed to say? What I do say. And then she gets mad at me. I say, they both look amazing. Like, how could I choose? You know, that's like cake or pie. I mean, they're both amazing. I don't know what to say. You look amazing in both. And she's like, tell me. And I'm like, they're both amazing. Like, how am I going to get myself in trouble? Because if she likes one thing and I like another, then she's like, well, why don't you? The answer is, yeah, that's what I thought. The answer always is, well, why? Why don't you like this one? No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I like this one. And she's saying, but why don't you like that one? And I'm like, oh, so just make it easy on yourself. Oh, they both look amazing. They both look amazing. I couldn't choose. You choose. And then she gets mad at me. So anyway, as the backdrop is, I'm not a fashionista, all right? But I think these pants are too tight and too short. And so what I said was, I tweeted this out, and I said, I should have just kept the tweet. That would have been easier. I said, did Pelinka's pants shrink in the dryer? John Stockton shorts think those are tight. I mean, Stockton shorts do think those are tight. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing to the imagination, and they're like 6 inches short. So when I was going to school, when those kind of pants happened, when they had those kind of pants, you would think, well, that kid's family isn't very wealthy. That kid's family is struggling. And I wouldn't make fun of kids. I would just go, well, his pants are 6 inches too short. Clearly, that was a hand-me-down from his brother, and they can't afford new pants. And I'm not judging that family. I'm just saying they're probably struggling. That's when we grew up. It was like, okay, those pants are really tight, and they're short floods. So obviously they're hand-me-downs, and he's outgrown those, or he's outgrown those and they can't afford new pants. And so I would feel bad. But now it's the general manager of the Lakers. There's nothing left to the imagination, and those are 6 inches too short. So when he walks, I don't know how, like when he gets up, I don't even know how he walks in those things without them ripping. Again, I'm not a fashionista, but that just looks uncomfortable to me. Like your boys are just like, they're fighting each other in there. Like, there's no room in here, man. Get some bigger pants. They're fighting. They're rubbing up against each other. You got the twig and the berries fighting constantly, walking around. Like, come on, man. Can we just get some comfortable pants? Like Bill Duffy's pants look like they are comfortable pants. Rob Pelinka's pants look like the twig and berries are constantly fighting. And I don't know how he gets up without them ripping. And they're 6 inches too short. But that must be the style. Because I'm not a fashionista. No, I'm not trying to be. I'm just saying, you tell me. Those look tight. Like we used to call Walker Buehler the Dodgers. We would call them tight pants. Those things look like Michigan Fab Four pants next to those pants. Robbie Ray has tight pants. Like you ever watch Robbie Ray pitch? Robbie Ray's pants think those pants are tight. That's what Robbie Ray's pants think. Robbie Ray's pants think those are tight. And Robbie Ray wears pants that are like medium when he's like an extra large. And he's got big legs. Did I go too far on that? Random part of the show. If you're listening to the podcast, go to John Lund Radio and go to the part where I've got Rob Pelinka there because you're like, I am so confused right now. I'm leaving the podcast. Don't leave the podcast if you're on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your favorite podcast. Simply go to @JohnLund Radio and you can see how tight Rob Pelinka's pants are. Let me go out. This always scares me when I go out to the chat line after I do something weird like that. Let's see. Rob Pelinka thinks he's too cool for school. I bet he's insufferable. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're in LA. So if there's a trend, and I understand this. I have family living in Manhattan Beach. I like Viore clothing. Viore clothing's very nice. It's very, 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 but you know, it's tight. And I like tighter pants. I'm not a skinny jeans guy, but I like tighter pants. I don't like the loose stuff. My son loves loose pants. So that must be in right now. But what Pelinka's wearing is probably some comfortable version of like a Viore pant, but it's just too tight, man. Go up one size, just one size, dude. All right, maybe you're, by the way, Gabriel, 100% right that bell bottoms are back because my wife this weekend, we were down in Santa Cruz and she was like, bell bottoms. Yeah, all the girls were in bell bottoms. And she was like, she told me that. Did you know that bell bottoms are back? I'm like, how would I know that bell bottoms are back? I have no idea, but if they are, cool. Great. What up, Antonio? Good to see you, man. He looks like Rob Lowe. Remember when Rob Lowe wore the let's see right there. You remember when Rob Lowe wore the NFL hat? There was like was it the Super Bowl or NFL playoffs or something like that? And Rob Lowe was in the crowd and they show him and it was probably Fox and he probably had a new show coming out because that's how you do it. But and he had the neutral hat that just said NFL. Like, have you ever seen anyone outside like of an official wear a hat that said NFL on it? Like, who's your favorite team? NFL. No, your team in the NFL. No, NFL. I've got a show coming up and I don't want to offend anybody. So when Fox shows me on the sideline, I can't offend anybody because if I have I'll just random team out there. If I have a Rams hat on, if I have a Jacksonville Jaguars hat on, then other people are going to be upset. Nobody's upset if you have a Jags hat on, by the way. That's neutral. That's like France, or excuse me, not France. It's like Sweden or something like that. That's just neutral. Nobody's going to get mad. Now, you have an Eagles hat on, you have a New York Giants hat on, you have a Niners hat on, you have a Steelers hat. Like, people are going to have an opinion about that because those are a lot of times successful franchises, and people care. But see, here's all I care about. What does Joy think? Not me. I'm too short for bell bottoms, sticking with skinny jeans. See, Joy, what do you think of Rob Pelinka's tight pants? That's what I want to know. Like, a bunch of us guys, we don't know what we're talking about. We're terrible. Like, we walk around on Sunday, we still have the greasy sweatshirt on and everything. We go to the store. We don't shower. It's like, generally, guys don't dress very well. But I'm just saying, I think Rob Pelinka's pants are too tight. I don't know. What do I know? I know those are in style. I get it. I'm not oblivious to the fact that those are in style. I'm just simply saying that for me, those pants are tight. I mean, those are pretty tight pants. That's a family that's struggling. If I'm going to school with that kid, I'm thinking, man, I feel bad. His pants are too small. They're too short at the bottom. He's got floods on. His family's probably struggling. He probably has hand-me-downs. Rob Pelinka's like, no, man, I want nothing left to the imagination. I want my twig and berries fighting like madmen inside of my pants, and I want to show my ankles when I walk. Like, I'd like to see him get up. Like, I'd like to see him get up with those pants ripping. Okay, we're not going to talk about that anymore. Because you know what? I say this all the time. Personal appearance is not supposed to be show fodder, but then again, it happens all the time. Like, it happens for you in the chat room. What the hell's Lund doing? What does Lund look like? Oh, my God, Lund looks terrible. Why is he wearing a hat like that? So it's true. I invited onto myself. See, Joy's she's going to be our local fashion person. Someone told them they look good. Yeah, probably. Although I'll say this, with my wife, I don't know if your significant other is the same way. Like if my wife dresses a certain way, which she always looks very, very nice, very, very sexy, very, very good. You saw her the other day, like Valentine's Day, she came in, she just had her hair blown out. She had this red top on, like she's ready to go. It was like 10 in the morning. Our date wasn't until like 8 at night. I'm like, uh-oh, I haven't even showered, so okay. But I mean, she knows what she's doing. She knows what the trends are. We were down in Santa Cruz. She was burning a hole with her credit card, just like money burning a hole in her pocket. I mean, she's a fashionista. She knows her stuff. So she's going to dress well. If I don't dress well, or if I don't match, because constantly, this is another thing too. What are you wearing? I'm like, what does it matter? She's like, well, we got to kind of, we don't have to match, but we have to kind of act. We kind of have to, like, if we were on the, some sort of a red carpet, like, oh, okay, they look like they're going to the same event, because I'll have I'll have like a hoodie on, a skull cap, and then she's like dressed to the nines. I'm like, damn. Like we don't have to all both have black on, but we should match where it looks like we're going to the same place, And then usually I always underdress, and she's like, come on, man. So she'll tell me, but I'm not going to tell her. Are you kidding me? And I don't get offended. Like if she says that looks terrible, I'll go, okay, let's go change. Like it doesn't offend us, but you tell them, you're wearing that? She's like, what? And then she goes in and changes in like 8 different things. So you can't tell the truth. They can tell you the truth. We're fine with it. You tell her the truth. Best of luck. Best of luck. Now, look, maybe your wife looks or significant other looks great all the time. I'm just saying, like, if you don't like something, oh boy, you might get in trouble. All right, before I give you a corpse update, because John Lynch is going to speak in an hour. Before I give you a corpse update, let me make sure that I've gone through everything. QB Carousel, no cousins, read all about it. Aiyuk staying. Lynch talks at 11. I'm going to be on the Kirk show after that. Rams used Rossini, Charlotte Golden State, Luka, and the spot that I played for. If you missed it, go back. Jordan Brand, plus the pass that he had in that game was unbelievable. Did some random stuff, although we could do more random if you'd like. Corpse update. Oh, let me do this before I go to corpse update. This is so random. And speaking of trends right now, I had no idea because I don't know what trends. I have any idea what's going on with trends. But I saw this in the New York Post today. Cinnamon rolls are suddenly hugely popular, and these are the ones New Yorkers are lining up an hour for. First of all, there's 2 things that come to mind when I look at that. It's not that cinnamon rolls don't look delicious, but I was never part of the whole Cinnabon craze and all that kind of stuff. I try to do keto and that kind of stuff. I try to eat fairly responsibly, but then the drinking always gets in the way. But a cinnamon roll basically is all those carbs you're not supposed to eat and all the sugar that you're not supposed to eat, and it's just a gut bomb. And so while it tastes good going down, it's so massive, like a half hour later, you're just like, ugh. So the little tiny cinnamon rolls that you get from like Pillsbury that every once in a while you'll pick up, and you turn the thing and it pops, and you put the you put the frosting on. Those every once in a while aren't so bad. I'll eat one of those every now and then, but just a giant cinnamon roll is just not my bag. If it's yours, totally cool. I like apple fritters, but I'll cut that in about a quarter. Like I don't want a massive one. If there was a little piece of a warm cinnamon roll, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but like that massive cinnamon roll, there's no way. They're good. They're just not as much my bag. But the other part of it right there is New Yorkers are lining up an hour. Like I don't do that. Like if I'm in a really nice restaurant and we can sit at the bar and have a conversation, then we're seated or whatever, like I'll wait like that, but I'm not going, the line, I've told you this a million times. I'm in San Ramon and there's that In-N-Out that's right off the freeway that often causes traffic jams around my house. And I'm just like, I'm not waiting an hour for that. And In-N-Out is great. I'm originally from Southern California. I've always liked In-N-Out, but no way I'm waiting an hour. And Chick-fil-A and all these different places. There's a couple of bakeries in Danville that are close to me. People are always out the door on. I'm just like, no. Like, no. I'm not waiting for, I'm not a food waiter. I'm not going to wait. I don't like to wait. When I was young, this tells you my age, I would wait in line for concert tickets and stuff. Now you just go online and you have to battle the bots and everything like that for it. But I would wait for certain things. I'm not totally opposed to it. But when like iPhones would come out and you had to wait in lines, I'm not doing that. I don't have to have the first and the best. I'm just not I'm not going to wait in line an hour for a cinnamon roll. That sounds ridiculous to me. And I really can't tell you what I would wait an hour in line for from a food standpoint. Like that looks really tasty. And I'd probably, if it was warm, I'd probably cut a little piece out of it and I'd be totally satisfied with it. I don't need a gut bomb cinnamon roll that in an hour Like I would look at people that were at the airport and I would judge them, of course, because I'm judgy. I would look at people at the airport at a Cinnabon and I would just be like, man, in an hour, you're going to need a nap. You're going to be in a food coma. And I'm just like, man, not judging you, but I'm judging you. And it's like, yeah. And those were, I don't know if they're hot right now or whatever happened to Cinnabon. For a while there, Cinnabon was like through the roof. But they're saying the food trend is cinnamon rolls are hugely popular. And these are the ones New Yorkers are lining up an hour for. No. Cinnamon roll's good, not great. I would say cinnamon roll on my list of things that, if I'm going to just totally smoke my diet, I'd say that they're like a 5.2 on a scale of 10. Like there's other things that I would just absolutely blow my diet on. Cinnamon roll, middle of the road, not great. I like donuts better than like just cinnamon rolls, but warm cinnamon roll right out of the oven or something like that, pretty good. But an hour on a cinnamon roll, no. I waited an hour in line when Star Wars came out. I will never do that for food. Yeah, but for certain movies like this doesn't happen anymore either because you get all this stuff online. But like when Star Wars was coming out, I had a friend, this is no lie, when the first Batman, maybe it was a second, no, I think it was the Jack Nicholson one. I had a friend that is very mechanically inclined, and he bought an old beat up, like a Batmobile, and the dude fixed it up to cherry conditions and went to the first Batman movie, the Jack Nicholson one. So it's at 89. Went to the first Jack Nicholson movie, Batman, Michael Keaton movie in it. And he dressed as Batman like he was the biggest Batman freak. He had stuff all over his house, and his wife was like, get it out. So he had one in his office, and he had a bunch of stuff in the garage. And he actually had got an old one that was all beat up and fixed this thing like cherry condition. Seriously, spent like 50 grand on the thing. And his whole purpose was, in advance, I'm driving this thing to the Batman premiere. And it got on TV, and it was a huge thing, and it stroked his ego and everything like that. I don't know if he still has it. I should call him and ask him. But it was badass, and he wore the outfit and everything. Got all over the news, went crazy. He was one of those guys. But like I don't have I have a ton of passion for many things in my life. Love sports, a lot of different things. Love the beach, love all these kind of things. Most of them aren't good for you. Love whiskeys, bourbons, sipping tequilas. Those things are all bad for you. I should really not have those passions, but I do. Movies, I love them. But in today's day and age, like, do you go out and see, like, first day, I got to see that movie? God, it's on Netflix probably the next week. I mean, things come out so fast now. A lot of the best stuff isn't even in a theater. I don't know how that business is doing. It's got to be doing well. These guys still getting paid a ton of money in Hollywood, so I don't know exactly how it's working. But I like the same thing. I never had to be the first. Concerts were a little different because concerts, it was like, and they're just so outrageously expensive. But concerts, it's like, this is your chance. This is your last chance to see this guy. That's why all these tours go, and they just cost so much money. Like the Stones. We really mean it this time. This could be our last. Now, they could, because they could drop dead at any moment. But concerts are different. Movies are going to come out. They're going to come to your house. Food is like whatever, that kind of stuff. Unique experiences you'll wait in line for. A cinnamon roll is not a unique experience to me. But it could be wrong. Everybody's got their own. I'm not judging you if that's your thing. Like if you say warm cinnamon roll out of the oven beats anything. I can see it. It's just not my thing. I can see it. Yeah, they've become huge. Let me go out to what Franco says here. Sipping tequilas have become huge, and I'm going to tell you, new. Skills, you've said a lot of funny things. That might be the funniest thing you've ever said. If you're listening on the podcast, here in Vallejo, you pay money to go to the movies and show up and find out the movie's been stolen. Solid. Yeah, that's a good point. My wife sells me on that, Daniel, and so you just brought up a really good point that I often don't think of, is that when you're in a movie, when it's just you, your wife, whatever, significant other, friends watching a movie at home, it's one thing. But when you are in the theater with the big sound and all that kind of stuff, and people are laughing, and you kind of get the sense of everybody in a movie, there is something for that. There is something to that. So, I got a great man. Todd, you just gave me a great thing. Okay, so $400 bone tickets in front of the line. So it was Super Bowl 50. I can't believe I remember this. It was Super Bowl 50, and I'm in a Starbucks, and it was near Moscone Center, and that's where Radio Row was. So you got, you're like, they got us. We're at Starbucks. And so the line's probably out. It's outrageous because, again, it's Radio Row and it's adjacent to Moscone Center. Might have been in there. I can't remember, but I'm probably 20 people deep in the line. And there's lots of friends I know who were in town for the Super Bowl. So we're just chatting it up a little bit. And the comedian Jay Moore, who I think is still married to Jeannie Buss of the Lakers, Jay Moore, who played Bob Sugar, right? Bob Sugar in Jerry Maguire. He pops into the line and looks how long the line is and goes straight to the front and says to this woman, I'll give you $100 if you order my drink for me and I'll buy your drink. And the woman says, of course, like, yeah, sure. So he hands her $100, says he wants some kind of, latte with that blah, blah, blah. She orders it for him. He pays for her and gives her $100. And the restaurant's like, bro, come on, man. Because anybody could do that. I'm not going to do it. So, I had 20, took me 20 minutes to get my drink. What's 20 minutes worth? Is it worth $100? For some people it is. So he did that. I didn't think that was awesome. One of my peeves is line cutters. I hate line cutting. Line cutting drives me crazy. I don't know why it does. It shouldn't. I shouldn't be so, but it's, it's your time and you're never going to get it back. So anyway, that was a short story. Nothing big. Is there somebody saying a mock draft? Would you wait in line? I'd wait in line for a mock draft. Let's see. John had no comment about me waiting for an hour for the show to start. I'm sorry. I did have it up early today. In fact, I did it last night. And there was a bunch of people waiting. And but you know what? I think today I said I'd be on at 8:05. That's when I set the show up. And I believe I was on by about 8:07. So that's not so bad. That's not so bad, is it? Let's see. What else? People talking about what they'd wait in line for and what they wouldn't. Oh, Disneyland. How did we not talk about that? When I was 10, I went to Disneyland with my aunt and cousin. Timer for ride said 3-hour wait. I said those are always wrong. To prove my point, my aunt made us stand in line for 3 hours. Yeah, I haven't been to. I grew up near Anaheim, and we would go to Disney all the time. And now everybody goes, "Oh, just get the Dash Pass or Fast Pass, or whatever it's called." It's like, yeah, right. I could just Space Mountain or whatever the hot rides were. You're still riding those late at night, and it might take off a couple of hours, but still, you go to Disneyland. I don't know if it's changed at all. I don't think it has. I mean, people with money can still ride things faster, but you have to go there from like 10 a.m. to like midnight or whenever when it closes and they do the fireworks, because all of a sudden it's like, it's time for you to go on a certain ride and you've been there since 10 a.m. and it's 7 o'clock at night. And then your Fast Pass says, oh, your line's ready at Space Mountain. And you're like, ugh, I can't handle that. Thank God for phones and iPads and that kind of stuff, because then you can have your kid like do that. But when I was a kid, it was like, you just look at your mom like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are you there yet? It's like, look, stop it. Because there was nothing to do. You just look at me like there was no phone. Like now you just stare at your phone like we all do, and an hour will go by and you're okay with it. But that's the worst. Disneyland, places like that, the worst, because you're like all excited. You pay all this money. It's like a mortgage payment on your house, and then you get there and it's like I'm waiting in a 2-hour line so I can ride a 60-second ride. That's not good. Let me see here. Somebody's asking about phones. Yeah, I might do that. I know Walter does it. I have some of the same equipment. I know how Walter does it. I've thought about it. I'll continue as people, and I say this is a democratic way to run the show. If enough people want to call in and get on the air, then I'll do that kind of stuff. I am doing, like I said, for LUIND loyalists. I believe we're going to do it on Thursday night. We're going to put 10 people in the room, and just everybody can just talk. Hell, I'll mute myself. I probably won't, but conceptually, I could mute myself. I probably won't. Hey, to each their own, bro. To each their own. You can have any kind of vice you want. We won't judge you in this room. That's not what we do. All right. Let's see here. What else do we have? All right. Oh, I love it, man. Only the line cutting I do is for cocaine. Yeah, I feel you, brother. Yeah, nice razor. Roll up a bill. You're good to go. All right. Let's see. Let me go to Corpse Update. So yesterday, I'm gonna have to share my screen with you, because I think I still have this up from yesterday on my screen. Could be wrong. I got a million things up there, but I think, yeah, here we go. So I told you this story yesterday, and what I told you I would give you an update. Married couple forced to sit next to, if you missed the show yesterday, Married couple, come on, get out of the way, Chevy. Married couple forced to sit next to woman's body after she drops dead on 15-hour flight. If you miss this, so this woman, a rather large woman, she dies on this flight. They tried to revive her, but they couldn't, and there was only a couple extra seats. So this couple had to, on a 15-hour flight, I think it was like 2 hours left in the flight, they had to sit next to this woman, and that was the only place they could put her, and they prop her up next to these people, and these people had to, on a flight, sit next to this dead corpse for hours. And I debated yesterday what you would ask for from the airline. Like, is that lifetime flights? Is that like, it would be for me. I'm like, if I have to sit next to a corpse, and I don't care how long it is, it was a man and a woman who had to sit next to this corpse, you're giving me free lifetime. There's a bunch of people who were hitting me up yesterday, like 50 free flights. It's not just like lifetime, or else I'm suing you for everything you have. I will own this airline. I had to sit next to a dead corpse. Like, that's a problem. And in court, you're going to win. So anyway, I thought it would be funny, because usually the news stories are funny on things like that. But this is like extra edition or something when they're talking. And I feel so bad for the woman. And maybe she's just playing it up, but she's got like PTSD from this whole thing. So this is the couple who had to sit next to the dead corpse. Woman died on a flight. These people had to sit next to her.
Turned around and said, move, we've got to move. I was really shocked. And I said, are they going to, put her there? And luckily a lady behind me on the other aisle, she said, darling, come here, a lovely English lady. And I sat next to her. But so Mitch was across the aisle then from me for the rest of the flight.
How do you go about now enjoying, what was meant to be a holiday of a lifetime, guys?
We're going to do it. We'll do it. Funnily enough, my daughter's a mental health nurse, so I'll be having lots of conversations with her.
God, like, this woman's acting like she's compassionate. How are you now, after sitting next to the dead corpse on the plane, going to enjoy your holiday? Like, well, my daughter's a traumatic nurse, and she's going to help me mentally to get through this. I mean, and believe me, I'm not saying she's not sad. I'm not saying it's not traumatic, but I also know that an ambulance chasing lawyer got to them. Go on Inside Edition, cry a lot, act like you're devastated, act like you'll never get over it. We will get millions. Plus, the two of you will never pay for a flight again in your life. Bingo. Nailed it. She did. She nailed it. Now, again, I'm not saying I would be happy next to a corpse. I would be very not happy being next to a corpse for any amount of time. And I might be having PTSD and I might have issues, but they played that perfectly. That was an ambulance chasing lawyer saying, hey, you act like you are devastated. You go on everything. Because if you're really devastated, it's like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to go on TV and talk about a dead corpse and then going on vacation, because they were in their hotel room. You can see it. They're in a hotel room on their holiday after having to sit next to the dead corpse. My God, man. I'm getting millions and free flights. Next to a dead corpse? Anyway, there's your dead corpse update. See, it says at the bottom there, corpse update. That's what dead corpse update is. That's what that is. Somebody saying that thing would smell. Yeah, it probably did. Plus, one of the things, and I read this to you yesterday, but if you weren't here, you got to be here every day. Show builds on itself. But they said the woman was so large they couldn't move her. So she passed away They had her in the aisle. They're trying to revive her. She's passed away. And that's why they were just unlucky, because there was a couple of seats right there. And so she moved across the aisle. Then he sat, and they asked the guy, this is what's even worse. So he's got the window seat. The corpse they originally put in the aisle seat, but the thing was like flopping over. So they asked the guy to move over into the middle seat so the thing could lean against him. So he's got the corpse leaning on him for like 2 hours of the last 2 hours of the flight. Like it's a sleeping person. You okay, honey? You must be really tired. Like, my God. And like you said, the thing's turning all sorts of colors, stinking. Man, free flights, $5 million. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. I mean, that's horrible. Hey, can we, I know it's a dead corpse, but can we then lean the dead corpse against you so it doesn't like fall over? Oh boy. Oh, there's a good call right there. Old movie reference. There's a Weekend at Bernie's joke here somewhere. Yeah. Andrew McCarthy, who was the other guy in that movie? Yeah, there's no question about it. Yeah, I mean, some people be like, put a dead corpse next to me, getting me $5 million in flights for life. Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I'm not saying that she wasn't traumatized, but she played that up pretty well. And I think that she's probably going to make some money off that. If I was a betting man, which I might be. Deleted scenes from Airplane. I can totally see that. I gave my love a cherry. Was that the song that she sang? It was Vicky from Love Boat. Remember that? That's not Barbara Billingsley. Really hard on the beaver last night, Ward. She was in that movie. Robert Hayes, Leslie Nielsen. That's a classic. Classic. If you're part of the young demographic and you know what I'm talking about, 1980 Airplane, you want to laugh your ass off. Most of those jokes you couldn't even say nowadays. Everyone would be up in there. They'd just be like, what in the what? You can't say that. Unbelievable. Okay. A little Keith Richards reference there. Very nice. She executed. He's gotten so many blood transfusions, man. It's unbelievable. All right. I think we hit everything today. I'm going to be back at 11. So give me a quick break here. And I'm going to shower and look presentable for Larry's show. John Lynch is going to speak at 11 o'clock. So I got to get myself all ready for that. And we will record all the video. So we'll have it on the show tomorrow at 8 a.m. But here's the thing. I'm going to be on with Larry Krueger and the Krug Show at 11 o'clock on YouTube. So I'll be there. And, or after, 11 o'clock, John speaks. Probably 11:30 or noon, something like that. We'll be on the Krug Show. So make sure you tune back in and we'll tell you all about what John Lynch had to say. And then tomorrow we'll play it here on our show. So we have a ton to do. Plus, make sure that you're subscribed. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Why? Because I know that we'll have John Lynch reaction. Yesterday, I wrote the piece. It's at johnlundunleashed.com. Right now, I wrote the piece about Matthew Stafford and how this quarterback carousel would help the 49ers eventually in the NFC West if and only if this is absolutely true that they are, and they're not bluffing on this whole thing. There it is right there. So yesterday when I got off the air, that's about a 3-minute long video. So I did about a few minutes on that QB carousel. You would have missed that if you weren't subscribed and didn't have your alerts on. Then I wrote a whole piece about it right there. The reasons why I think that the Rams are not bluffing, they could end up on the Raiders. So we did that yesterday. We put up a couple of shorts yesterday on the show. So we did that. So we had a ton of stuff. So after we were off the air yesterday, we put like 5 more pieces of content out, all those kind of things. So make sure that you are subscribed. Emergency shows, we do that. Certain post-game shows, we do that. So you got to make sure you know when we are on, because we are on 8 a.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. most Saturday mornings, and then random times and random things that we post throughout the day. So you want to make sure that you are knowing that those things are going on. So make sure that you subscribe, like, and turn your alerts on YouTube. John Lund Unleashed. Website that I just showed you is johnlundunleashed.com. We have shows there, live, archived, podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. All those are archived there, plus the blog in which we put up a ton of stuff and write stories there. So make sure that you check that out, johnlundunleashed.com. You're also watching different platforms. Thank you for tuning in on Instagram at John Lund Radio, on X at John Lund Radio, on Twitch, you can watch us. YouTube, you are. Plus, we have an alternative YouTube channel that I'm able to tell you about next week, but we're running on there. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, we're even doing that. We have John Lund, which is me. I have a personal account, and hit me up as a friend there. And John Lund Unleashed, that's a show page, group page on Facebook as well. So if you would join that, then you would be in the know. All those social media at John Lund Unleashed. Does that make any sense whatsoever? All right. Thank you for tuning in. QB Carousel, no Cousins. Read all about it. Aiyuk staying. Lynch at 11. Krug Show after. Mock drafts. Rams used Rossini. Charlotte and Golden State. Luka and Dallas. Random and corpse update. That's what we went through for episode 71. That is the Wednesday edition of the program. Thank you as always for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. If you are new here, welcome. And hold on a second. No Warriors talk. Yeah, we had Warriors talk. We talked about Jimmy. If you go back earlier in the show, Charlotte versus Golden State, if you look at the chalkboard there, there's a Charlotte Golden State there. There's a Luka versus Dallas thing there. We did all of that. We played all of that and talked about it. So if you go back into the show, and we did things in order so you can tell when we did those things, we did talk a lot about the Warriors today. And did I mention, let me just do this again. Did I mention this? This was awesome. Luka taking off the plate of Dallas. This is before the game. Am I as big of a fan of this? Are you as big of a fan of this as me? That's supposed to be Luka.
Hey.
My
Somebody's going to get paid a lot of money, or did get paid a lot of money for that. Then Luka pulled up in that very car for Lakers versus Dallas. Brilliance, I tell you. But yeah, we got into the Warriors a little bit. Smoked Charlotte. Charlotte's terrible. I showed the schedule that's coming up. I did all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we talked some Warriors, so we got into that as well. All right. Go back if you missed anything on the show, YouTube. If you go to YouTube, all you got to do is you can watch it right now. But when we end the show, you can go back. You can go back when it's live. But we'll repost everything, all those kind of things. So like I said, join. Thank you. Be back. Yeah, Wednesday. Have a wonderful Wednesday. I'll be back after John Lynch speaks on the Krug Show with Larry Krueger. So make sure you tune in. Thank you so much for hitting us up, no matter what platform you watch on. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m., and we'll see you with Krug a little bit later on in the day. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!